All right, everybody. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Bong. Bong. What is going on, everybody? We are the Cinefanatics, I think, or we're just out of our mind. Happy Halloween to everyone watching. Welcome to the Marquee Tears for Fears Halloween edition. I am Robert Adams, and next to me,
I'm Tori Rose.
Below her,
as a succubus demon thing. Who knows?
It is I, Tim Franco, aka Tim Tramer, for tonight.
Nice. And then below me,
I'm Gallego, aka a troubled teen who has just joined the Foot Clan. So there you go.
Like Sam Rockwell.
Calm down.
Yeah. Menthol.
Regular or menthol. Anyways, we're here tonight to do Halloween movies. That's the Halloween franchise, the entire Halloween franchise from the 1978 original to Halloween Kills that just came out like 2 weeks ago. So it's going to be a lot to cover. Guys, any of y'all watching in the chat, I'll go through real quick. I do see Commentating Nerd. I see Tyler. I see Vernon. I see my brother. I see Jeremy. Thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being here as we get started. Everyone's like dressed up, and I'm dressed like a Nike rep apparently. So thank you all for coming in costume, I guess. Didn't really have time today, but if y'all do have any questions, comments, any kind of input you absolutely want us to know about, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics/tip. That's the best place to let me know or let us know what it is you want to ask. Also, don't forget patreon.com/cinefanatics. Please help us support us in growing this channel, growing our content, and growing my need to no longer rely on a full-time job. That would be great, but that's not happening anytime soon. But in the meantime, still help support us. Patreon.com/cinefanatics. We have Discord, movie watch-alongs, trivia hangouts, a lot of fun. Anyways, guys, let's go. Let's start with Tori. What is your connection with the Halloween franchise?
Anyways, guys.
There was an echo.
Apparently, I'm going to ask myself here in a minute, too.
So, funny enough, I think I saw the Rob Zombie version first because that came out 2002?
2007.
2007? Why was I thinking? Oh, I was looking at like the list of movies before, and I must have seen 2002. 2007, yeah, that would have been right around. I mean, I wasn't 9 when I saw it, but like if it came out in 2007, I saw it on TV probably around like 2011-ish, 2012. I think I was like watching MTV or something, and it was on there. And I actually really like that one. Maybe it's because it was my first one. I liked like him as a kid. I thought was really interesting and creepy, and the stuff with his mom. And I kind of just like caught on after that. I watched the original because I feel like I knew it was a classic. I was getting into horror movies, and I really, really liked the first one. And then the one in 2018 came out, and I kind of got back into watching the other ones. And it's been a while since I've seen some of the other ones, but I went and watched them all before the 2018. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. So she's kind of one of the reasons I like the franchise so much. But yeah, I never personally found Mike Myers scary, even as a kid. I don't know why. Like, I think I was just creeped out by men in general. So I was like, what do I care if he's 7 feet tall and wearing a weirdo mask? Like, same thing.
It's not a weirdo mask, it's Captain Kirk.
But yeah, so I got into it through the Rob Zombie one.
Interesting. Tim.
I love horror, which I think everyone knows that. I love slashers in particular. It's my favorite genre. Halloween 78 is my favorite horror movie. It's in my top 10 movies of all time. I absolutely love that film, and I love this franchise. It's not my favorite slasher franchise, but it's like my number 2, number 3 right in that area. I think the first movie I actually saw in this franchise was probably Halloween 2, because I feel like it was on TV a lot growing up, and I saw horror movies at what most people would consider an inappropriate age for a child, but I turned out fine, and my sister did as well, so I have no regrets. And so I'm pretty sure I saw it. I don't know. I was probably like 7 or 8. I'm very young, and then I saw the original ones a short time after that. But I've definitely seen 2 a lot because growing up it was on TV a lot. But I love this whole franchise all the way through minus 2 films, which we'll get into throughout this night. But I genuinely love pretty much every film to some extent, good and the bad. So yeah, I'm happy to sit here and rank them all. And I will try not to take anything too personal, and I'll try to not lose any friends.
Andres.
Yeah, no, this franchise is very near and dear to me. Probably the first one I ever saw was actually Halloween H2O, and that was back in '98 when it first came out. And then after I saw that one, I went back and rewatched the entire series leading all the way up to then, and then had to deal with Resurrection, which we'll get there. But yeah, no, I just absolutely love this franchise. It kind of spawned my my love of horror to a certain extent, along with Friday the 13th. So yeah, I'm all on board to come on and rank these. So yeah.
Interesting. For me, I hate this franchise. I don't know why I'm doing this ranking. So no.
Well, I'll see you guys later.
Robert just leaves.
Yeah. No, this franchise definitely, like, I feel like has like a lot of downs in it, but it's not so much like the movies themselves. They have individual moments that are fantastic. Like, there's a reason that this franchise is one of the 4 most like definition of like your stereotypical slasher movie. I mean, right up there with Friday, Halloween. This is one of the mainstays, and they do a lot of good stuff throughout this series. I just feel like they do a lot of like really bad stuff too, but I'm pretty sure we'll cover that. And who knows, maybe my opinion might change a little bit on this franchise. I definitely have like a lot of stuff. A lot of these movies I like, but again, there's at least a good 3 of them that I'm not a huge fan of. So, anyways, those of y'all in the chat, y'all have any opinions about these? Feel free to let us know. We will probably lean on the chat for other way, Andres. There you go. Yeah. We'll probably rely on the chat for some of these because there might be some. It sounds like we might have like mixed emotions on some of these, and since there's 4 of us on there, we're gonna rely on chat to hopefully potentially be like a tiebreaker on some of these if we're all just like really firm on certain movies.
Tell us which of the whole thing, like which was your first Halloween movie you saw? I'm curious. Like, it feels like it's pretty across the board for us. So
yeah. I am limiting this again to just 2 movies in the S tier. So out of 12 movies in the Halloween franchise, only 2 of them can be S tier. That being said, let's go ahead and bring up, nice timing, Andres. Let's go ahead and bring up the marquee. There we go. So this is going to be our marquee for tonight. Those of y'all that might be familiar with tier ranking, that's basically what this is. We still have the S tier, A, B, C, D. I don't know why there's not an E, but there is an F. And we're going to start at the earliest movie and work our way up to the newest movie. So kicking things off, we're going to start with 1978 original classic, Halloween. Anyone here not wanting to put this S tier?
If so, you may leave now.
yeah.
Man, Tim's dropping friends like crazy already right off the bat. We're not even 10 minutes
you were
into
like,
this.
I don't want to lose friends, but get the F out.
I mean, if someone doesn't like Halloween, I don't need them as a friend. So
Nicely done, Tori.
Nice one.
I stopped myself. Thank you.
Yeah, like, okay, so I think for the most part, everyone's going to agree, except Andres, I guess, as to this being S tier. Andres, do you have an argument against it being S tier?
No. Why would you possibly think I have an argument for it being against not being an S tier? I mean, it is a groundbreaking movie in so many respects. It paved the way for so many of the slashers going forward, gave us an indelible villain, gave us one of the best female protagonists in anything in Laurie Strode as well. There's no reason why this is not an S tier movie. I mean, come on. It also gave us Dean Cundey as well too, and he's gone on to do so many legendary movies like, Jurassic Park and so on and so forth. This movie spawned so much, and to argue it not being an S tier, it's kind of a joke. It absolutely belongs in S tier. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I also just want to say quick too, as we're like introducing the franchise, and this was 1978, correct? Like the original?
Yes.
Yep.
I think it's important to note like the context that this movie was like made in. I'm a big true crime person, which you can hate or whatever. PJ, what did he say? What did PJ say?
Is that anyone who says this isn't S tier is a suspect?
True.
We're all suspects.
Like in the 70s and 80s, it was like very much this like serial killer era where like all of a sudden people really were afraid of like the killer in the night breaking into your home. And so I think and like my mom would have been 17 when this movie came out, and I remember talking to her about this movie, and she was like, yeah, like we had all started getting afraid of like locking your doors at night, and like if you're a girl going to school, like keep an eye out, because there was more TV attention going to like horrific crimes. So I think that was especially effective for this movie to tack on like you're in your home, a dude just breaks in, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. And I think that's why this film is like timeless, because we all have that fear to different degrees. Like whether you're a kid or you're a teenager or you're an adult and you live with other people, we lock our doors at night, you check. And if you've ever had an experience where someone either did break into your house or almost did, or you thought someone did, that fear is horrible. And I think that's why this film is so effective. The context was so important. It's still scary. Just the thought of him is scary, of someone breaking into your home. So
it's so simple too, because it's not like overly violent like slashers would become. It's like,
no, my brother could watch
it's interesting that, even like if you were looking at it like in today's terms, you would even question if it would be rated R necessarily, because of like, I guess because it does have some nudity in it, it would be rated R for that. But in terms of violence, it's very low, but the violence is very effective that is in it. But yeah, I mean, everything is iconic about it. The music, I mean, the theme, the fact that it's in 5/4 time, which is like very off-putting in general, so that already kind of like throws you off. And there's like weird little musical cues throughout the movie too that like are just like get under your skin. Like when Michael's in the very beginning, when Michael's when you're looking through Michael's eyes at the house, and he looks up at the window upstairs and it does that weird like shift in the music. It's like super like creepy and off-putting. And it does a similar one when Michael kills Annie in the back of the car. It's very similar. There's a very similar shift there as well. I like all those little parts of it. Donald Pleasance, iconic. Sam Loomis, the best. We'll talk more about him throughout, but this is the beginning of it. This is the beginning of it.
Yeah, he's not the best throughout the rest of this.
Yeah, he is. Shut up, Robert.
He starts declining a bit.
No, he doesn't. He's the best. I will not hear it. He's the best. But the ending being said,
before the shit gets too deep, I like it already because I love it. It's not angry horror nerd on TikTok like it all. We haven't gotten there yet.
That's my friend Justin, who's tuning in tonight. What's up, Justin? But
okay, so he knows what what arguments you're coming with. Then
I brought people to support me. I was like, I got people on my back. I'm like, I'm gonna need people in the chat fighting for me. Anyways, the end is great. It's so scary because he shoots him, and then Laurie simply just says, "So it was the boogeyman," and he's like, "As a matter of fact, it was." And then he goes, and then the music kicks in, and he's gone. And it's just like, and then the music plays. You hear Michael breathing, and it shows just the little segments throughout the film that shows the bodies, Laurie crying. It's so good. It's just the best. I love it, and I love John Carpenter. John Carpenter is the man.
And it's so genius. Like I was just watching series on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us, and they talk about how that iconic end montage was actually just like a last minute thing that they came up where they were just like, oh, they literally just took B-roll from all the takes right before they did the clapper in front, before they put the actors on there, and literally it's so effective when you cut it alongside with Michael breathing, and it's just one of those indelible endings that I remember even seeing as a kid and being like, holy crap, I don't feel safe going out right now. Like it's such an amazing film. Such an amazing film.
Robert, the chat has turned on you.
No, I said his character is gonna start weaning off. Like, I'm not disrespecting Donald Pleasance, but
now what if Loomis was played by loopy. What if Loomis was played by Ed Harris?
Oh, PLD would be all over that.
Yeah.
Again, we all agree this is S tier.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Let's move on to Halloween 2. This is the original Halloween 2 that came out at 1981. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Halloween 2, the night he came home again.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's start with Andres on this one.
You know, this movie, it's such an interesting one because there's never been a horror movie that has been set on the same night as the previous film. And for that, I think it's groundbreaking in its own respect. And then also giving us a sort of haunted house type of feel with the hospital that's closed down, and also upping the gore and all that other stuff. It's great. There's certain things that loses from the original, but I would never say it's a bad film at all. I would just say it's tiny step down from the original. I still really enjoy it quite a bit, but ultimately with everything all together, I think I would be okay putting it either at the A or a high B tier. So I'm just gonna say the A tier for this one.
Cool. Tim.
So I mentioned in my just kind of overall in the franchise, this is probably the one I saw the first time. I really like this movie. That being said, it is not my favorite sequel to these films, but I do really like it. I don't mind the fact that Laurie is kind of sidelined throughout the film, being in the hospital, which we see again in Kills. But I don't really enjoy the swapping of Sheriff Lee Brackett with the other guy. I would have enjoyed Lee Brackett being in this movie more, but it's understandable why he isn't, considering Annie was murdered and he finds out that she's murdered, so he has to be with his wife. But I think the kind of like cop companion is a downgrade in my opinion. I do love, one of my favorite aspects of this movie is you get the Ben Tramer moment, which of course is the Laurie's love interest from the first movie, who's mentioned only by name, but Loomis basically commits manslaughter and murders and kills a teenager by trying to shoot him, and then he runs off and gets run over and exploded and dies, and Ben Tramer is no more. But I absolutely love the fact that Ben Tramer is like an actual thing now. You can buy a Ben Tramer mask. Next year, my plan is to be Ben Tramer for Halloween, because if people see me and they're like, "You're Michael Myers," I'll be like, "No, I'm Ben Tramer." Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about.
It's the blonde one.
It's right? The same mask, but it's like blonde. Yeah, it's much lighter hair. Yeah. And he would be carrying a trick or treat bag versus a knife or a weapon.
Yeah. Actually, NECA did a really great Halloween 2 figure where you can swap out the heads and you can have it be Ben Tramer instead. So
I want that. I want that, and I'm just gonna keep it as Ben Tramer the entire time. I will never put the Michael Myers hair on. Just leave the blonde hair on it the entire. That's great.
What I like most about this movie is I like the opening, like probably 30 minutes or so, with Michael cruising around the neighborhood in the alleyways and stuff. I think that stuff is awesome. It's got some creepy stuff in the hospital. It's got some good kills. I really love the opening score, the fact that they kind of switched it from like more of a stripped down piano to a little bit more of the synthy stuff that Carpenter's kind of known for. Yeah. With that all being said, though, I would put this movie probably in the high B for me. So it would be a high B.
Okay. Tori.
So I really like this one. I said before, I'm a Jamie Lee Curtis fan by far. So I really like the films in this franchise where she's heavily featured or featured at all. I really like the alley stuff as well. I think it's creepy. And I think this film also really starts to show a lot of what the later Halloween films will cover, which is not only Mike Myers' rampage, but his effects on people and that lingering effect he has. It starts to show you how, you know, it's not a simple, like, it stops and Laurie is allowed to get away and move on with her life. It's like this repeated trauma that she can't even escape from in a hospital, which, again, when you talk about settings that you should feel as safe as possible in, you could argue a hospital should be the safest place you can be. And so I think, again, like, it just is haunting. I think it starts to get to that. I love when horror movies show you, like, you just would hate to be in that position, like being stalked and like feeling this inevitable sense of dread that he's going to come and get you no matter where you go. And you don't even understand why. And there's no way to make him stop. Like, it's just really haunting. You get the feeling that this is going to be something she's going to have to deal with until he's gone. And I think it starts to, again, like, obviously I don't think you're supposed to consider Halloween 2 for like the 2018 film. But it does like give you the sense of Laurie's torment and why she would take the steps she does in later films. Why it's a lifelong thing for her. Why she feels attached to him permanently. I think mentally he attached himself to her. So I think that stuff's interesting. So for me, this film would actually be like a in the A tier. I don't know if I would put it high or low A, but to me, this one is super powerful, very similar to the first one, just not to the same degree exactly, but I would still consider it an A tier movie for me in this franchise.
Yeah. So I'm going to agree with pretty much most all of everything that y'all said. Just kind of, I guess, a cop out, but yeah, whatever. I do like Halloween 2. Yeah, not as strong as the first one, but it did like a lot of cool things with it, in that so much that there's a lot of what's happening at the hospital. The fact they were able to, like, what was this, like 3 years later when they made it and it came out, but they were able to basically pick up immediately from where it left off and continue that same night. I know this happens again multiple times in this franchise, but I don't think any of the other times that that's happened that it's been as good as this one.
Yeah,
this was much better at continuing more of the night he came home. I see you, PJ. I would actually I would put this in A, just because I think it's a really good sequel. It did really good things, but it's not S tier at all.
Shout out to this movie also being Dana Carvey's first film role.
Dana Carvey's in this?
Yeah, he's one of the paramedics.
Oh yeah, he is.
I feel like I heard that before, but I'm not sure. So A tier, is everyone good with A tier for now? Also keep in mind that like at the end of this we can go and rearrange if we would like.
I'm okay. It was a high B for me, but I'm okay with it being A tier. It's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
The higher the better. Hype it up.
So we're gonna move on to Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. We're gonna talk about this one probably for a while. So there's a lot to talk about in regards to this movie. I'll expand more on my feelings later, but just a sneak preview. This is the other one I want to throw in S tier. Tim, let's start with you.
I absolutely don't think any other movie should be in S tier. I'm just going to state that now. So S tier is a specialized category, and I feel like Halloween 78 is such a transcendental film. I don't think anything in this franchise belongs in S tier out of respect for Halloween. And that's saying I like a lot of these other movies a lot, including Halloween 3. But I'm just going to state right now, to respect the sanctity of the tier and the fact that Halloween 78 is such a masterpiece, nothing should be in S tier with it. We can load up the A's and the B's, that's fine. But that needs to stand alone as the only S tier. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that. Halloween 3. I love Halloween 3. It's so goofy. It's bizarre. And I would have really loved to see this. I love what this franchise became, but I would have loved to see this franchise like expand to what it was originally intended to be, which was like an anthology film series based with different stories taking place on Halloween night. Even though this movie doesn't start on Halloween night, it starts on the 27th, I believe. But we get to Halloween night evenly. How else were we going to hear? How else were we going to hear the Silver Shamrock song like 30 times in the movie? This movie is great. Tom Atkins. I love Tom Atkins. He's like an icon in like male leads for like horror films, but he's like one of those like male leads that you shouldn't necessarily find sexy, but you do find him sexy. Does that make sense? You're like, yeah, man, Tom Atkins can get it for sure. And that's like him and everything. And that's him even now as an older man, and I'm straight, but I love him. But anyway,
I want that on the back of a T-shirt now. Like we're gonna do the Cinefanatics like tier ranking shirt, and then like on the back, oh yeah, Tom Atkins. I want that for sure.
Tom Atkins can get it. Anyways,
can get it.
But I mean, this movie it's goofy because like the plot is like kind of just so bizarre. It's basically like a James Bond movie in like a horror film / sci-fi film, because you have this villain with this crazy plan of world domination. Not really, but he has this like kind of like apocalyptic plan essentially, and you have this guy who's like a doctor, but he's like the Bond essentially, going to like try to stop him and he's got this girl tagging along with him, and of course he's got his person back at home helping him. There's got his physician partner that's like doing the examination. That's the Q. She's doing examination on the remains. And then the villain tells the entire plan to him as he has him like secured. And then he of course gets out, stops him. But this one doesn't have a good ending, or does it? I don't know. I guess it's open-ended, but
yeah.
This movie is so weird, and I love it for its weirdness. Plus, you got Jamie Lee Curtis has a unofficial cameo in this film as well. So she continued, in the movie. Yeah, she's the voice of the town curfew, and also I think the radio show or something like that. And then the movie Halloween exists within this film as a film, which is cool too. So it's very meta in that aspect. And then when they're touring the Silver Shamrock Factory, there's weird like stuff like in the background. You look at the other masks, and there's a Tor Johnson mask in the background. It's like, why is that there? There's a bunch of Tor Johnson molds and masks. Like that's so strange, but I love it. The soundtrack is incredible because John Carpenter, even though he didn't direct this, he did do the score, and this score is really good as well because it gets into more of that like synthy Carpenter score, kind of similar to like Escape from New York. And it's very similar to that, done around the same time period. Directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who was the production designer, I believe, on Halloween, the first Halloween. He's also married to the actress that played Annie in the first Halloween, and she's in this movie as well. She's Tom Atkins' wife, but she doesn't get, much, respect. But she's in the movie as well.
So you want to put it at A?
Yes, I would put this movie at A for sure. It belongs in the A.
Would you put it higher than Halloween 2 or under Halloween 2?
I'd put it higher than Halloween 2 because I put Halloween 2 in the high B, so it would go. And this movie is an A for me. So
okay, Tori.
Yeah.
I didn't really love this movie. I agree it's weird, but I didn't find it interesting. I really like the idea of doing an anthology series where actually I love anthology series in general. And I think Halloween is like a meaningful enough night to do it on where it's just like anything could happen. I love cult stuff or anything related to like mass, like social conformity or anything. But I just found like the ending to really lower the stakes for the whole movie for me, with it being as ambiguous as it is. So the rewatchability for this is really low to me. And it just wasn't as intriguing as the prior two for me. And even though like you don't want to compare it because it's technically a totally different thing, when I look at just like horror movies in general and like what I'm going to go to and what I'm not, it's like I'm just not going to go to this one. It doesn't mean I don't like it. There were things in here that I liked. I do like the cult stuff. Like I always find that interesting myself, but I just wasn't as entertained as I had been for the other two movies. So for me, this would probably actually be like a C, like right in the middle for me.
Okay. Yeah, so I've already said, like, I would put this S tier. I love the idea of the anthology. The main thing is I like Halloween 2, but this one, like, this would have been so much better had they not done Halloween 2. Had this been the original Halloween 2, everyone would probably think more highly of this movie. Isn't very highly thought of generally, but as far as a cult movie, definitely. I think it would have performed better. The expectations would have been higher had this been the actual Halloween 2. But because they decided to continue Michael Myers for just the one more movie, that actually just ruins the entire like anthology idea. You have the one movie and that's it. Maybe bring back Michael Myers like 6, 7, 8 movies later, but not like the immediate next movie is also Michael Myers and everything. So this movie should have gotten much higher credit than it got. But yeah, I love this movie just because of the goofiness, the simplicity, the story, how it turned out, like some of the effects that they did in it, I thought were really good. So yeah, that's why I would want to put this in S tier. Just because I don't feel like any of the other movies, kind of like what Tim was saying, I don't feel like any of the other movies are going to be S tier worthy. So that would why, like, I'm okay with it being a high A, but I would put it in S tier. Andres, where would you put it?
This one I've had a very complicated relationship with because I remember watching it. I mean, PLD's saying it right here, and I kind of agree with him on this, that when I was a kid, I'd seen this and I actually hated it growing up. And then I reevaluated it when I was older, when I was in college, and I actually really found a lot of things to really love about it. And it grew on me quite a bit. Still not at the heights of Halloween 2 for me, but it's definitely an underrated movie, I would say. The only thing is, I fully agree with you as well, Tori, that the ending is kind of what just doesn't nail it in the head for me. Like it was sort of like having like a really amazing experience watching the movie, and then someone just literally dumps cold water on you and takes you out of the experience. And you just go, wait, what? That was the end? Like where's the rest of it? Like I don't know. It was just an unsatisfying ending for me. But everything else going forward, all the way up until then, I think is still great. But I would say it's a low A for me. It's a low A for me, but it's it doesn't deserve the disrespect that it got. But also on top of that, it doesn't stick the landing for me. But I still really enjoy it quite a bit. But it's like low A for me.
All right, so we're kind of like at a standstill with this. So it looks like A is like the teeter-tottering part-ish. Tori, you're wanting to go down to C. Tim, you want it high A. Andres, you're okay with it A, but lower A. And of course,
I'm okay with the A after what y'all said about it. Yeah. Like I think you all had good points about why you think it should be higher up in the entire franchise. So even if it wasn't as entertaining for me, like I'm fine with it being A.
Okay.
Plus it was also ahead of its time. It tried something different for a horror movie, which not a lot of horror movies had the balls to do that way back when in the day. I mean, like I would say that this movie also inspired Friday the 13th in a certain extent to basically do the whole new beginning type of thing and kind of create this entire trend where it's like, let's do something a bit different with this later film or after the story of our initial character has been told. So I will always give it kudos.
Yeah. So we're going to put it in A. Where are we going to put it in A? Because I feel like we still got 2 people saying higher than Halloween 2 and 2 people saying lower than Halloween 2.
Chat.
Chat. Go on. Break it.
So
higher or lower?
I love when there's a delay.
Yeah. Well, while we're waiting for the chat, how's everyone enjoying their Halloween? Anyone got their sugar rush in yet?
I didn't have candy today. I'm gonna go tomorrow and get the discount candy.
Yeah. See, here's the thing.
Yes.
Like kids are all for. I feel like kids are all for. Like, go grab that candy like tonight. It's free, and all the adults are like, we're just gonna go to the grocery store and buy the big bag of Reese's peanut butter cups for like 50 cents tomorrow.
I would definitely say for me, Halloween and Valentine's Day are kind of those two holidays where I'm like, you know what? The next day afterwards, that's when all the discount candy is going to be on sale. That's when I'm going to freaking go crazy.
So tomorrow's Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I don't know if I'm going to have time to be able to run to a grocery store. Chris, I know you're watching. That's your job tomorrow. Someone pitch in a super chat so we have the money to pay for candy. And to have Chris like substitute him working to go buy candy.
So I see two higher than 2s.
Mm-hmm.
I see one lower than 2.
I
see
see
one F, but Chris doesn't count.
Yeah. Freaking Chris. He says on it. He was gonna do that anyway, so I mean I don't know why I had to make a spectacle, but
based on the chat right now, it's higher than 2.
Go ahead. Yeah. Put it higher than 2 then.
Yeah, it's on me.
Yep. But Tori, we know the truth.
The chat will remember this. Kind of telltale game.
Who else can I get to come in the chat on my side?
He said, "Hell yeah, I was." He was going to get that. All right, so moving on to the next one. Next one, we got quite a jump in the years here. We went from Season of the Witch was 1982, and we're jumping to 1988 for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So he's not out for revenge or trying to get a curse or anything yet. He's just returning. We're going to start with Tori this time.
I really like this one. I think, again, I like to consider context. So this is 88. Again, this is like, I think movies in general, but also the culture started to shift away from like traditional, simple, like serial killer kind of like man that's going to break into your house at night movies. And it started to drift more into like an interest in like either weirder or like occult supernatural kind of stuff, like plot twisty stuff. Which I think is interesting. And I mean, I'm all for the ending of this movie, honestly. I think it's really interesting. I think the idea of, again, like Mike Myers not being a person it tends to intrigue me more to think of him as just like this ununderstandable shape. Like, I love the description of the shape. Like, he's an embodiment of an unstoppable force. And so even though death technically stops his body, it's like the idea of it like regaining life in a new form, I think is really interesting. And again, it's from like the least likely person, which I guess, spoiler alert chat, is like a young girl, which again, like drifts way away from the original man is going to break into your house and kill you. And now it's like, killer might already be in your family. And it starts to get into like the psychology of that. Which again, I think is a trend of the late 80s, 90s scary movies in general. A lot of like psych themes go in there of like, It could be my kid, or like the media like corrupting your kid is like a very big thing at the time too. Whether you agree with it or not, which I don't, but I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. I think the ending is really fun. I think the lack of Jamie Lee Curtis hurts me at my soul. But I do think like the relative thing was a really cool idea. So this for me would actually also be like an A tier. We might have like a couple of them, depending on what y'all think of it. But I really like this one. So it's an A for me.
Okay. So we're going to go me next. This is one that I would like. I'm really close to just wanting to dump this an F. Sorry. Preview for the next ones. 4, 5, and 6. I'm like, this is where I was talking about, like, good Lord, I got lost everybody. Well, there goes our channel. See ya. This is what I was talking about, like, where the movies are more better suited towards highlighting the moments rather than the movie itself. Danielle Harris as Jamie in this, her first movie, Jamie's first appearance in this movie, she does phenomenal. How old was she when this movie was made? Like 6, 7, 8?
She's 8 and 12, I think, in the next one. Or she might have been 12 in this one. 11 or 12 in this one, actually.
Nails that role. she is easily the best part of the Danielle Harris herself as the actress is the best part of Halloween 4 and 5. They recasted her for 6. So she was good. But the rest of the story, this was coming back to the idea of here's a slasher guy who's just going to go around and kill people. Like, there's no real other story than just another vehicle for him to come back and kill people, and switching it from Laurie to Laurie's daughter. I guess, like, was this where it was mentioned that Laurie was like in a car wreck or something? And so Laurie,
this is where they explain how she died. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just they moved it from Laurie, who Jamie Lee Curtis is now an adult. They didn't want to make an adult face Michael Myers because he's slow, and probably most of your adults could easily take him out, except for what Halloween Kills set up. But we'll talk about how upset we are at that later.
Or not upset.
Oh, okay. We're going to have some fun with that one. Yeah, just this one began that whole, like, the 3 movie stretch that I don't like. And maybe my opinion is a little harsh on this one only because the next movies are even worse. That I feel like because those movies exist, it brings down like my feelings on this movie. But
who do you think you are, Robert Adams?
Now, I will say, out of the 3 movies, I would more likely want to put this in D rather than F. Okay. Next 2 are F, though.
I'm curious what Andres and Tim have to say.
Yeah, let's go to Andres. Giving me the stink eye something bad.
Robert Adams, do not take me for a conjurer of cheap tricks.
But I just finished the Lord of the Rings movies.
So good. But I will say, for this film,
love the chat right now. Good Lord,
they're strong tonight. They have opinions.
They're coming after you, brother. But as far as Halloween 4 goes, this for me was sort of a return to the franchise for myself when I was younger. I mean, especially being a little disappointed by 3 because I saw all of them in order during a movie marathon, actually. And what ended up happening was with this one, I felt more, I related to this one a little more because, you know, when you're a kid, you can actually relate more to Jamie Lloyd than you can, Laurie Strode as the babysitter. And also, this kind of pulled the same thing that Child's Play would do in the same year, where we are uncomfortable with seeing danger being done to a child as opposed to an adult. So I kind of felt that the stakes in this one were raised up a little higher, and also the tension is there even more so. And again, we talked about it. Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd is fantastic in the role. And, you know, she kept on that path. And for me, this would actually be, I would actually put this as an A. Like, I really enjoyed this, even though some people can argue that it's, you know, it's kind of what we expect a Halloween movie to be. I kind of see this as sort of like, this is the Halloween movie that I imagine, like, you know, like, oh, a good proper sequel was, I would say. So I really enjoy this one quite a bit, actually. And also Donald Pleasance in this is still just hamming it up. Like, for the longest time, I didn't even know that the thing he had on the side of his face was a burn. I was like, oh, that looks like some type of like hideous like man-eating disease or something like that. It doesn't look like a burn. But apart from that, I still really enjoy this movie. And also, having just been over at Halloween Horror Nights where they had the Halloween 4 maze, I really enjoy this movie quite a bit, and it's pretty nostalgic for me. Taking that apart, though, it still is kind of like a low A, mid A for me, I would say.
So 2 A's.
Yeah. Okay, Tim.
Muted.
You're muted, Tim.
I thought he was saying that ironically. This is 100% my second favorite film in this franchise. I love it. I love Danielle Harris. I
Guess
love
what
Danielle
movie's
Harris.
not going enough?
I love the character of Jamie Lloyd. I love. This is where you. Okay, let me say this too. So I love slasher films, and Friday the 13th is my favorite franchise, and the reason is because I like when slashers go wonky, weird, goofy, and this is kind of like the start in that for the franchise, and that's why I like 4. 5 is not great, but I still enjoy it because it's in this like line, the Jamie Lloyd timeline, where it kind of really embraces that like Friday the 13th era of like slasher, and I love it for that. You get the beginning of like, my dogs are gonna bark. Sorry.
The dogs have opinions.
My dogs have opinions. They know how much I love these. Anyways, you get the beginning of like the like kind of truly mad Sam Loomis, which I love. You get Dr. Loomis is kind of, he's kind of slipping on his sanity there. Also, you get something that is in the very first the first 3 Friday the 13th films. You get the Prophet of Doom character, which I love in a slasher. So you get the guy that picks Loomis up on the road when he loses his car to Michael, picks him up, and he's talking about doom and how he's hunting death, and like this guy's been on the road looking for it as well, and they're kind of looking for the same thing. I love that. I love the third act in the house. I think it's incredible. The creepy stuff in the house with Michael getting into the house and they have nowhere to go. They have to go through the roof. I love the town rising up against Michael. All the dumb, local Haddonfield people, getting their guns out and they kill someone because they're crazy. And we'll see that again in Kills.
Sort of.
I love everything about this movie. I love Danielle Harris. And she's, she'll be in this franchise later as well. Not just 5. She's in Zombies films as well, unfortunately. But I love this film. It's my second favorite in the franchise, and it's obviously a high A for me. The mask sucks, but that's really the only thing bad I can say about it. The mask is garbage.
I win the day. My point has been made now.
So we have 3 A's and 1 D. So what are we?
I mean, I'm gonna have to yield,
Which
is fine. Like, I'm okay with yielding on this one because I know that there's at least 2, maybe 3 more later on. I'll be like, no, this there's no way this gets higher than F. So,
okay. Robert, you haven't beaten us. You've sacrificed sure footing for a killing stroke.
Very nice. Thank you. Put the thing back on so you can do like Karate Kid or.
So I can do the Foot Clan stuff.
Yeah. So we want to. I guess y'all are all heading towards A. I'm like
Absolutely.
way down here, but
Heading towards, we're at A. We're there.
We are in
A.
A.
We're already A.
A.
but under Halloween 2.
I'd be okay with that.
I mean, I'm not going to win this fight, so it's fine.
I think because of how low you have it, Robert.
I'm fine if it's an A.
You know what? Actually, I'd be fine if it's a little higher than 2. Actually, like right in the middle between Halloween 3 and Halloween 2. I would say my personal. But yeah,
I mean, obviously, I'm cool with that because this is my second favorite, so you know my opinion on it.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy that it's A, so I don't really care.
Yeah.
We'll
take what we can get.
Yeah.
How about let's leave this one specifically open to coming back at the end. We'll talk about Halloween 4 again because I really want to see like y'all's opinions on the rest of these because I know my opinions obviously. I want to see how y'all's are, and then we'll see how this like stacks up, and then maybe given where everything else lands, do you want to change opinions on Halloween 4 or anything else? So.
Okay.
But yeah, I will yield and let this go all the way up to A. I said like I will yield and let this go like I have any. Halloween 5. Let's talk about revenge. Oh, good Lord. Why?
You know your own opinion.
No, I know. I just foresee what's about to happen and just. So Halloween 5. We started with Tori last time, so we're starting with me on this one. Again, I'm not a fan of these 3 specific films. This is also one I would want to throw straight to F. Here's the thing. My feelings on this one specifically, Halloween 4 ended with the whole with Jamie Lloyd,
Yeah.
with
Murdering
her
her
being
stepmom.
looking like she's going to be the new psycho killer, and then Halloween 5 just completely erases it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's weird. First of all, that we have to all of a sudden retcon the end of our last movie, which that was a really good ending. I was curious where they were going to go with that. This one pops up, and again, it's more of Michael Myers just killing people in Haddonfield. We got a whole new set of teenagers for him to tear through. There's no new anything except for the man in black and the tattoo on his wrist, which is setting up the next movie, which let's not do that because that's even worse. I don't feel this one is high at all. This would be one, again, I would want to stick this in F just because I feel like at this point, the Halloween movies, they've lost their grasp on their ideas and story. We're done with Michael Myers just straight up killing people in Haddonfield. There's nothing new here. It's just blah. So that's where I would want to put it. Andres.
I will say one thing before I give my rating. For this one, it has some of my favorite Jamie Lloyd moments and even Sam Loomis and the Shape moments in any Halloween movie. I love the fact that Sam Loomis has kind of given up on trying to kill Michael Myers. And in this one, he's just kind of like, you know what? What if I do the one thing I have never done? And it's just talk to him, try to talk him down from killing Jamie Lloyd, which that doesn't work. But it's such an interesting thing to see Sam Loomis do in this film. Having said that, this also has probably one of my favorite sequences in any one of the Halloween films as well, which is the moment where Michael is stalking Jamie in the house and Jamie's stuck in the laundry chute. And that's such a great, great moment right there. So well done and utterly terrifying to a certain extent too. However,
you know how that was filmed.
Yeah. Yeah.
The real quick for those of y'all who want context, if you're not familiar with this, Jamie Lloyd is stuck in this trash compactor chute, and Michael Myers is stabbing a real knife. The actor playing Michael stabbing a real knife into it, not knowing where she's at. He could have actually stabbed her in real life.
Yeah.
Here's your context.
Aren't old horror movies fun?
Halloween 5, directed by John Landis.
They're fun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Wow. Wow. That is an effed up joke right there. Good one, Tim.
We could go even more effed up, but I'm not going to. But
yeah. I know we could go with that. We're not.
No.
Yeah.
but I will say one thing though. This movie has a lot of pluses to it. Ultimately, I feel it's a movie that has really great moments, but no real connective tissue in between all those moments. And it just kind of becomes just kind of a chore to watch at a certain point. And then they do a complete disservice to Jamie Lloyd's character in the very end. I mean, in the very beginning, by making her mute and sort of getting rid of that character dynamic. And also, the mask in this looks freaking atrocious. I mean, what the hell type of mask is this? Doesn't
is this
even
the
look like
alien mask? Is this the bright white alien mask?
It's the mask that just looks like Michael Jackson's face. That's the best way to describe it. It doesn't look good at all, and again, it's all set up for the next film. This film for me is kind of just meh. So honestly, I would put it at a D. That's my opinion.
Okay, Tim.
So as I mentioned before, I love the Jamie Lloyd timeline. So this is my least favorite of the three films. Spoiler, but I still really enjoy it. I will still watch it when I'm watching the franchise. I will absolutely 100% watch this every time I'm watching the franchise because I love Daniel Harris. I love Sam Loomis. I love, as Andres mentioned, I love the stalking in the house. This is the first time in the franchise you go back to the Myers house since the original film in the opening. So you're in the Myers house, Michael. And Loomis is even more crazy in this because he's kind of I kind of disagree with what Andres was saying. I think he's more willing to to like he sees Jamie as expendable almost in a sense, to like he's using her to like get to Michael. And he's like, when he's talking to Michael whenever whenever they're like kind of standing when he's in the woods, and he's like, she'll be there. He's like, I'll be waiting for you. She'll be there too. And then he intentionally like has that fake call go out to get the cops away from the house, knowing Michael's not going to come to the house if there's a bunch of cops there. Gets the cops to leave, and then he's like, now he'll come. And he's kind of like using. He's perfectly okay with using Jamie as bait. And we saw he was like okay with shooting her in the last film because he was getting ready to blow her away at the end of the last movie.
How is he still on the force at this point, right?
How does he have a gun? But I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's not the best. It's got some. The mask is bad, but I still will watch it, and I still have fun with it for what it is, because of the few things that I really enjoy, and that being like Daniel Harris and Sam Loomis still in it. Anytime I can get Donald Pleasance in these films, I'm loving it. Especially his like descent into the crazy Loomis that he becomes. So I would put this actually at a C though. So I put it at a C. Right in the middle.
Tori.
So I have a lot of similar problems that have already been mentioned with this movie. I thought the beginning was weird how it like, oh, there's like Beetlejuice going on, Chris. How they reverted the decision they made at the end of the last one for this one. I don't like that she was mute in the beginning. I think it does take away from what she was doing in 4. And yeah, overall, I just didn't really find this one that entertaining. I think, again, like comparing it to the previous 4, it just like wasn't strong at all. And so for me, because I feel like a lot of the points that I had problems with were already stated, this is like a D for me. Solid D.
I will say too, I don't mind the fact that they retconned the fact that she was like a killer, because for one, once we'd seen that before already, like done in Friday the 13th, like they made Tommy a killer at the end of A New Beginning, and they were like, you know what, let's not make Tommy a killer, and Tommy's the hero, and Jason Lives. So the fact that it had been done before, and I was like, yeah, it's okay, like it's fine. Plus, I'd rather see Jamie as the protagonist, anyways.
Yeah. So are we good with D?
Yeah.
Everyone's okay with D on this one?
I can live with it.
Okay. So that is where Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers shall stay. Real quick, a couple of Streamlabs here. Got PLD is saying, Robert, you're fired. Where's Chris? And we also got one from Brennan Marr saying, hello there, you fine people. I'm a big fan of all of you, and I will be joining your Patreon tomorrow. Thank you, Brennan.
Ooh.
Thanks.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Like,
Brennan's the man.
Thank you for the support, sir. And congrats on the belt, by the way. So, moving on to Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. We are going to start with Andres, and good luck defending this piece of shite. If you wanted to.
Well, I think first off, before I even say my thoughts on this, I just kind of wondered, where did this thorn tattoo just pop up out of nowhere, guys?
It popped up in the fifth movie.
I don't know.
Now it's your responsibility.
But all I will say is, for me, this one's also very nostalgic for me as well. So taking all that away as well, this movie, I think, actually has probably some of the best atmosphere that we've gotten in a Halloween movie in quite a bit. It also has probably one of the better masks and one of the better performances from Michael Myers as well, and also bringing in the sort of thorn aspect into this and sort of trying to explain the method to the madness. While it takes away a little bit, it sort of keeps it in sort of a supernatural realm that I find really interesting. And also, I think in this one, Donald Pleasance is kind of tuned down a little bit to where he's more Sam Loomis from Halloween 1 more than anything else, and I really appreciated that change. But also, probably the big element that I just love in this movie is Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd, I mean, for me, he's the standout in the movie as well. And this also has one of my favorite moments in any of the Halloween movies, where there's a moment where he's trying to break the woman who's living in Michael Myers' house now, trying to break her out of the cell, and then literally Michael Myers just appears right in front of him, and he's still trying to break her out, and then he just has this look on his face, was like, of course, and he's just like, bam, trying to break this door down while Michael Myers is walking right towards him, and I just think that's such an underrated moment where he's like, God dang it, he's right there, I'm gonna die. But it's, to me, this movie is so much fun, but it's not perfect. I would give it a B, though. I would give it a B for all the things that it does right, but it does a lot of things wrong, and I think it still should be commended for trying to steer the direction of the franchise in the right path. So, yeah, B.
So we got a good representation here of why my brother is not a part of this. Paul Rudd does not a movie make, although it does definitely help. Tim.
Yeah, I love this movie. Now listen, it's a bad movie, but bad for me never means not good. It doesn't necessarily mean not good and not fun. So I love bad. There's many bad movies I enjoy and love, and this is one of them. And it's got a lot of great parts. Andres mentioned so much, already, but like the mask is incredible, and it's weird because it's like it's bookended by like 2 movies with really bad masks, and then 2 movies after this with really bad masks. Like, what could you not get right? Like, what the hell's going on there? It also, I think it has some really great uses of like the original score. Some of the original music notes come in a lot in this movie, which I really appreciate. I love Paul Rudd and his like, he's really doing something as Tommy Doyle, and I love it. I love everything he's doing in this movie. And this was his first movie. I mean, Clueless came out at the same time, but so he did this in Clueless. He filmed this before, right? Yeah.
He filmed this before.
It came out the same time.
Clueless came out like a couple of months before this one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So and the one negative, they wouldn't pay Danielle Harris, so she's not in this movie. They didn't want to give her
well, they aged her up. They aged her up to like a young adult because she's giving birth at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah, she was still like they were in contract with her, but she went through the process of emancipating her. She was going to emancipate herself from her parents, but they weren't willing to pay her the money. It was going to cost her more to emancipate herself than what they were going to pay her. So she was like, I ain't going to do that. And they didn't think it was worth paying her because they're like, you're going to die in the beginning of the movie anyways, which that leads me to this. If you haven't seen the producer's cut of this film, the producer's cut of this movie is way better than the theatrical version.
Yes.
The producer's cut, she does not die at the beginning of the movie, although she does. They don't treat her very well. She gets a pistol to the head later in the hospital. So it's not much better, but she doesn't die in the beginning. Secondly, the third act, the end of the film, is where it's drastically different, and it's great. I love the way it ends in the producer's cut. It's much more Thorn culty, which I love. You got Paul Rudd doing some weird stuff with runes, and you're like, why does this work? But it does. It stops Michael. And of course you have Michael getting away, and you find out why Loomis screams, has this like death scream. You don't find that out in the theatrical version. They just hear Loomis screaming. You don't actually see why he's screaming. You see why he's screaming in the producer's cut. So this movie, I love it. Check out the producer's cut if you haven't. It's a lot of fun. Loomis, unfortunately, Donald Pleasance died during production of this movie, so rest in peace to the great Donald Pleasance.
Final performance as well too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I believe so. Yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
It was his final movie. Yes.
Yep. So this movie is it's a B for me. Sorry, I didn't mention that, but it's definitely a B for me.
Okay, Tori.
So I like cult stuff. I mentioned that. So there's something I really like about this one, and there's something I really don't like about this one. What I really like about this one is I think it's fun. I was mentioning like I like good bad movies that I can like get drunk to and watch and just have a good time. I think this one is very much that for me because of the cult stuff. I'm just like, what's happening? What's going on? There's like a tattoo. Okay, there's like druid stuff. Cool. But the one thing that I would say brings it down for me is I think there are certain characters that changing their motivation and characterization so drastically changes the character. I like cult stuff, Chris. I relate
I love
it to
cult
like
stuff too.
I like cult stuff.
I'm a cult
I relate
myself.
it to like the Joker. Like, I mean, it's argued whether people want to have his origin story or not, but I think there's something very important to you as a viewer not knowing. And that makes the stakes a lot higher because as humans, we want to rationalize and empathize at the end of the day. Some people like don't. They're just like, F this guy, he's done terrible things, which is totally valid. But at the end of the day, like we want to be able to tell ourselves when we go to sleep, that's never going to be me. I'm never going to be Michael Myers, and he's never going to get to me because I figured him out. I know why he does what he does. It's not going to be me. Like as a kid, at least I had this fear, like not only of being attacked by this thing, but also like, where does he come from? Because if I don't know where he comes from, like maybe someone I know could end up like that, or I could walk down the street and someone I know could end up like that. So I do think not knowing his origin is very important to the character of Michael Myers, similar to like the Joker for me. And so I think giving him this like cult curse is like almost like an attempt to take away his accountability, which I don't think is interesting. I think it's interesting that he's accountable for everything. It's like, you know, when I watch my true crime stuff and they'll talk about like killers' backgrounds, and they always say like it's not to justify what happened, it's just for context, and they're still accountable for what they did. But if he has a curse on him, it makes him more of like this tortured soul that we can identify with. And you can kind of understand the road that led to Mike Myers. And it's like, I don't want to know the road. I just want to be scared by him. It takes the fear out of it for me. And so since this is a horror franchise, if I'm not scared anymore based on the story you gave me, I do have to lower the rating for that because it just doesn't become scary to me. It just becomes fun. So for this, I would actually put it at like a low C, high D. Because of that. I just don't think it's scary. I think it starts to move into the territory of like kind of weird supernatural films, but like I don't feel scared if Michael Myers is just cursed. To me, it's just I'd still not wanted to run into him, but like it makes him more human. And again, I like the idea of him being a shape or like this ambiguous figure. So
you should check out the producer's cut.
Yeah.
The third act,
I didn't know about that.
I think you'll like the third act changes a lot, especially with like how it ends, literally how it ends with Michael, like what they do with Michael.
We'll have to check it out. Yeah, I didn't even know it was a thing. So
yeah, it's about as different as like the other thing I could say is comparable in terms of differences between the producer's cut and the theatrical is the Snyder cut. Actually, it's a little longer, but small little changes here and there definitely broaden out the story and actually make it so much of a better film, I would say.
Yeah. So yeah, we got in the chat, people are saying check out producer's cut. So yeah, that's the thing. When we do these rankings, I'm just going based off of like the pure theatrical version. So yeah, a lot of good comments about the producer's cut. Real quick, going back though, PLD is saying that actually, no, I found out Donald Pleasance had a few more roles. There were a couple of other posthumous releases after this movie that he did. So yeah, according to what I was looking at, also Fatal Frames was his final release. So
you're right. Okay.
So sounds like between the four of us, this is probably just going to go into D.
I mean, I think it would go C, honestly.
I'd be okay with
because Andres and me were B, right?
Yeah.
And you were, where were you, Robert? F?
I would love to drop this in F, but
and Tori was C.
It's gonna happen.
Low C, high D. Yeah.
So
I'd be okay splitting the difference as C. Yeah.
So I was like, just making sure we're putting this higher than Halloween 5.
That checks out because it's higher on my personal list, so we're good.
For me, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Robert is going to put a thing like, this list does not represent my opinions.
This does not represent the opinions of the Cinefanatic. Yeah. All right. So I know, this one's going to be fun just because I feel like I have a good idea of like the combined opinions of this one. Halloween Water.
Oh, yes, Water.
You drinking the wrong water.
We started off with what, Andres last time, or
Yeah.
So Tim, kick us off with this one.
I love Halloween H2O. This is my third favorite sequel in this franchise. You got the return of Laurie Strode, which is great. We love to see it. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. This is the start of a new timeline in the franchise. This franchise has many timelines, so this retcons the Jamie Lloyd timeline, and we got this continuing from Halloween 2 essentially, with her son John, which is I believe Josh Hartnett's first role.
It is,
I believe, in this film, and he's got that weird '90s. He's got that weird '90s haircut, with the messy hair, which is even commented in the film. Someone tells him, "Is it like?" I think LL Cool J tells him to brush his hair.
Isn't this around the same time as
The Faculty?
Faculty.
Yeah, probably.
Yep, same year, 98.
But doesn't he get an introducing credit at the beginning of the film?
Yep. Yeah, he
In
does.
this one?
I think he does, yeah. Which this franchise has done a lot of. So they introduced Jamie Lee Curtis, and I believe they introduced Andy Matichak in Halloween 2018 too.
And I think they did introduce Paul Rudd as well, because they
Probably,
actually they actually put his middle name on there also.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love this movie. I love the fact that it takes the franchise out of Haddonfield and we go to this West Coast city in California. It takes place in a private school. I love the setting of it being in a school. The opening's a lot of fun with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and his buddy, causing trouble, and that's Nurse Marion, so the nurse from the original 2 films, who would come back and kills as well. She's the keeper of Sam Loomis's records, so Michael needs those obviously to find out what happened to Laurie. I love Adam Arkin in this film. I think he's great as the love interest of Laurie. I can take or leave LL Cool J being in the film, honestly. Like, he's got some funny moments, but he kind of takes me out of it. But I think the setting is really cool, and I think it's a nice return to it's got that super 90s slasher feel to it, which is great. Even though previous movies, even though Dimension had done the previous film, this feels like a Dimension slasher horror film in the vein of Scream. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's an A for me. This would be an A tier film for me. The ending is interesting because it totally kind of sets up what you find out in Resurrection. And if you watch it knowing what's going to happen at the beginning of Resurrection, it makes sense. If you watch it with that lens, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that, with what happens. I don't want to say too much because I don't know if we've been spoiling things here and there, I guess, but
that one's pretty good. If y'all haven't seen that is a pretty good ending to this one, leading into the beginning of that. So I'm like, okay, I can accept it. It's far-fetched, but I can accept it.
But if you watch it and even knowing what actually they did to change it, it makes sense. I watched it this week and I'm like, yeah, I can see how where they go. It makes sense that they were already probably thinking about that, because it totally makes sense, with where they went. But yeah, I love H2O. Water's good. I mean, it keeps you hydrated. Your body should always have water. So give me Halloween H2O. I'm good. A tier.
Tori, what are your opinions of water?
I like water a lot. Again, Jamie Lee Curtis fan, all about it. And what really does, I mean, it's a spoiler, but I feel like it's why I like it. So if you haven't seen it, I'm gonna spoil it. But the whole ending with I always say actresses' names instead of the character name, with Jamie Lee Curtis, with Laurie and Michael, I think is super interesting because, again, it doesn't take away who he is as a character, his motivations, whether he is this ambiguous form of evil or a person. I think it keeps his character, but it shows her character and it shows her humanity, where even after everything they've been through, in the final moments when he's reaching out to her and she reaches back for a second, I think it shows the difference between them, where even at the end, she's maybe trying to understand, could he change? And it reminds me of the moment, if you've read The Killing Joke, again, not to keep mentioning Batman and the Joker, but they have this moment at the end that I find super interesting where Batman's we can change you. I can help you. You don't have to do this. And Joker is it's too late. And it's just like this revealing moment of like the Joker, and in this case, I guess Mike Myers, understanding who they are, and it gives you this weird insight to them that's like creepy in itself to me. Like it makes their actions a lot more sinister to me because it's like, I don't know, it like puts them in this place where they understand what they're doing, and they're not just like this like train off the tracks, just killing like crazy like an animal. It's like it's intentional, it's calculated. They are like similar to us, but they're not us. And so I really like that. I found it super interesting. I think it really builds Laurie's character to see her do that. I think it's realistic. I think having her just like not even, I think if she had like not even addressed it, I think it's just not realistic. I think if you went through a trauma, you would try to process it and maybe say like he could change, or like maybe he is human, and like that would make more sense versus saying there's this evil thing that somehow exists in the world and I don't know why, but like it's there. And so I find that stuff super interesting. So for me, this is an A. It's an A tier. A.
Yeah, so I do like the fact that they kind of reinvigorated this series by piggybacking off of the Scream backbone. That like once we hit Scream, like all the rest of the horror movies for like the next like 8 years all kind of felt the same, like formulaic wise. But I don't mean that to sound bad. Like they took what Scream did, but adapted it into the Halloween universe. I think it plays very well. I think they did a good job. I love seeing like a lot of these actors in this movie are really popular nowadays. A lot of them got their first starts here. I like the thing with this was the one that had Jamie Lee Curtis's mom. Playing
Janet
this
Leigh.
one, and Janet Leigh, and she leaves in the same car that she's driving in Psycho. Like that, nice touch on that. I mean, I do like this one. I thought this one did pretty well. It still, again, felt like just a very straightforward slasher, but they did it like with the modern feel and aesthetics to it that Scream had. So I felt like it played very well with that. I would also probably throw this into an A.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is the first one you've liked since 2?
First Halloween 3.
Goodness. Yeah, I mean, for me, before I go on to praise it, there's a few nitpicks that I do have with it. First off, I don't think Steve Miner is that great of a director because of he very much doesn't have his own style. Like if you look at this movie and you also look at some of the Fridays that he's directed as well, they kind of feel like very, very, no disrespect, it kind of feels very workmanlike, where it's just kind of like, just put the camera forward, try not to have that much style to it whatsoever. Having said that, I think what really brings up this movie is the cast. It is the writing, absolutely, which this is also Kevin Williamson's only Halloween film, I think.
Yeah, I think he worked on it uncredited, but I believe he did work on it.
Yeah, he did work on this one. So, there's so many things I like about this film in particular that 2018 tries to do unsuccessfully, but I think this one really does have some of the best some of the best Jamie Lee Curtis moments in the franchise, where she just I just love that moment where she just says, you know what, F this, this guy's gonna keep coming back over and over again. I'm gonna freaking break this gate. I'm gonna charge into this freaking school with an axe. I'm gonna cut off his head. Like that, to me, I just remember seeing that in the theaters and just being like, oh, this is amazing. Oh my God, go get him, Laurie. Like I was cheering for that bloodlust from Laurie Strode. So having said that, I do agree with everything that you guys have said so far. It is absolutely an A-tier movie for me. It is probably my favorite out of all the sequels, I would say. Probably my favorite one. So I would actually put it at a very high A for myself.
So everyone's saying A, pretty much for the most part on this.
Yeah.
Where within A would we put it? Because me personally, I probably would put it. Oh man, I would be close to Halloween 2, but I don't know if I put it before or after Halloween 2.
I would actually put it above Halloween 2, and it's up to you guys to choose whether or not you would put it above Halloween 3 or lower than Halloween 3.
I put it above 2, lower than 3.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
As long as it's an A, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so we're moving. What was that? Halloween 2. I'm starting to get the idea that like we really like this franchise.
Well, we really like this franchise.
I love this franchise.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah. You're like, what's this we business? So if we'd like to break real quick, if y'all have any questions, comments, anything you want to add to it, streamlabs.com/cinefanatics. Pretty good conversation so far. Now we're more than halfway through this list. But my feeling is the rest of this might be slightly negative. I do see some positives on here, but slightly negative, I feel like. So just keep in mind, we're all still friends here. Everything's going great. But it's kind of like this has already taken a turn where I didn't think it was going to go. I thought I was like safe in my opinions of like Halloween 4 and 5, just straight garbage. But
Nope.
Oh, apparently I chose the right panel for this. So yeah, pretty good so far. Let's move on to the next one. So we left off
DJ.
we started off with Tim here. Tori, we're gonna start this fantastic piece of cinematic masterpiece with you.
I feel like my generation weirdly likes this movie.
I could see that. I could understand that argument.
This is like a weird, Gen Z has like weirdly started liking this movie. I don't know why. I don't speak for us as a whole, but I think it's just like absurd. I think it's just absurd, and Gen Z people just love absurdity. I think this is the one with Busta Rhymes in it, right? I'm not getting it wrong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, there he is.
That's just just they were like, ooh, how do we get our hands on the kids?
Flipped it on them. Flip mode is the greatest.
Yeah, so I think I don't even know. This movie's ridiculous. I think it's a fun drunk watch. For me, it's a C. I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just it's absurd. I don't know. I think honestly, Robert, when you mentioned Scream, what year was this one?
2002.
2002.
So what Scream were we on at that point? Like
we were way past 3 at that point.
Yeah.
I think it was like the goofy horror was like I think that was like what you were really trying to do was like this like meta self-aware kind of thing, and I think they just took it in the wrong weird direction with that. I'm like looking up little notes about it because it's been a while since I've seen it.
This was on the tail end of the Scream type of this was like the nice little renaissance period between the Scream and then going full on hardcore like torture porn like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and the Saw movies brought us. So
this was 1 year. This was like 1 year before that.
1 year before the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just I think it was a product of its time. I think Busta Rhymes was a product of his time. So yeah, for me, it's like a C or a D because it's fun to watch while drunk. And as a representative of Gen Z here, I have to rep. I can't give it an F. I'm sorry.
Okay. So on to my turn. F this movie. God. Okay, so here I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna backpedal. I'm sorry. The other movies that I wanted to put as F, I've at least watched those. This one I have turned on. I started watching it and I have not completed it. This is the one time in these tier ranking that we've done so far, with the exception of like going back to the Dracula, the Hammer horror. We just completely forgot to put that on the list, so I didn't get to watch it before doing the ranking. This is the only one, like, I have not finished watching this movie, and I feel okay with that. Like I feel like very well justified in not watching this. This movie's terrible. Like, just F this movie all day. This is the one that I will fight for just staying in the F tier. Andres.
Oh my God. My thoughts can be summed up on this one. Trick or treat, mother.
That's so stupid. Did he did he try karate moves against Michael Myers in this?
Beats him up with a freaking he beats him up
what
with
are you
karate.
gonna do against Mike Myers?
And he's like watching a kung fu movie in the beginning, and this is so awful, such an awful movie. And the one big pain about it, or the thing that makes it so painful for me, is that going back and rewatching it not too long ago, this is one of Kay Sackhoff's first movies. I'm like, oh, she was in this. Starbuck. Oh my God. And just like, oh geez, just so much really bad stuff in this movie. And then just the way not necessarily that they retcon the ending from H2O, but the explanation, I'm sorry, even if it makes sense watching the last one, it's stupid. It's so stupid. If what's called, if I was that paramedic and I had that freaking mask on me, I wouldn't be doing this the entire time. I'd be like, look, it's not your brother. I'm just another guy. Like, it never, oh my goodness. It takes so many leaps in order to believe certain things about this movie. And it's so bad all the way through. And then like Eric Rodriguez, Nerd Chronic, sent me a text earlier today where he's like, yeah, that moment where Michael Myers just like goes in and kills freaking Jamie, and then all of a sudden he goes up and meets up that psycho killer that's waiting for him in the ward and that knows all these people, and then all of a sudden Michael just hands him the knife. It's like, it really doesn't seem like a Michael Myers moment at all. At all. Like Michael Myers would have probably just killed him. So anyways, it's an F. It goes straight down the gutter for me.
I like where your head's at tonight. Finally, we agree on something.
Yes.
Tim, tell us why this is your favorite movie of the entire franchise.
No, it's not my favorite for sure. I can watch it. I find it watchable for the most part because it's bad, but I can still watch it. There's two movies that we'll talk about soon that I just really don't ever want to watch because I just don't like them at all. These I can find some positives in this movie. So yeah, Thomas Ian Nicholas, the Rookie of the Year himself, really really nice guy. He sat next to me at a Schmoedown taping once. Cool dude. Mm-hmm. I think they did a really good job reconstructing the Myers house in this film. I can appreciate that. I think they did a pretty good job with that. But this movie feels like it's like an MTV version. If like MTV made a Halloween movie, that's like my best way of kind of like describing it. Like
isn't that what they were filming for that?
MTV was like, let's make a Halloween movie, and that's what they did with this movie. The cast is totally like that generation, that MTV generation. Yeah, it's not good, but I can watch it. So for that reason, I will put it at a D. So it's going to be a D for me.
Are you saying it's a D for Dangertainment?
Dangertainment. Also, give a shout out for the Rick Rosenthal cameo. Yeah. Rick Rosenthal, the director of Halloween 2, has a cameo.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's fun.
And before we go on even further, Jen Kemp in the chat here just put in this freaking hilarious comment about the gun, abilities a little earlier on. I just have to acknowledge that because
yeah.
Learn the gun kata. Oh goodness.
This one I feel like would have scored a little bit higher if like when Busta Rhymes was like karate chopping Michael Myers, if he threw in like a random woo-ha in there, then I'd be like, okay, I'll at least finish watching this one.
No, he does like oh my goodness, like doesn't he actually like do like a full on like whoa, like right in front of Michael Myers?
He does like the very stereotypical, this is a sound you should make if you're doing karate. But like throw in just the actual song woo-ha type of woo-ha. Like that would have been great in this, but no, he doesn't do it. This movie's garbage. So again, everyone's okay with this movie being an F, right?
I'm
We're
okay with it being an F.
We're okay with F tier.
Where did Tori have it?
Like D or C.
I mean, I don't really. I would say D or F, but it depends on, I guess, where Tori wants to go.
We can do a D.
Tori, can we do an F?
Let's you know what? Let's do D for Dangertainment. Let's do that. Dangertainment.
Robert's not going to get any F, so I'm going to make it impossible. I'm going to give every other movie an A.
There will be F.
There's one or
Probably
two
not,
others
actually.
I see coming up that I could understand an F going to. So, all right, this one I feel like this is the movie, the 2007 Rob Zombie move. Why are you there? Sure, you move when I don't click on you. The 2007 Rob Zombie redo. I like how divisive this movie is. So, where did we start last time? Tim?
No, I was like 2 times ago. I don't know who was the most recent.
So, Tori started with Resurrection, so it's me. Okay. Here's the thing. I do like this movie spending about half the movie with the origin of Michael Myers. I like seeing him as a kid. Just because I think that's kind of interesting, like seeing the major horror movie slashers or killers. I want to see them develop into that. Those of y'all that are watching the Chucky TV series, we just got an episode all about how Charles Lee Ray went from being a sweet little kid into like becoming a psycho killer. I like that kind of an idea. I want to see the origin of that. And this movie did a good job with it, not only just in the storytelling, but I think the kid actor that they had in this as well. I thought he did very well. Was it Dag Fresh? Something like that?
Yeah. Dag.
Like he embodied that role perfectly, and they did a really good job. The things I don't like about this movie is it does very much have that Rob Zombie stereotypical hellbilly trash redneck feel to it, and I feel like that kind of takes away from the Halloween franchise. Otherwise, I do like this movie. This is probably out of the entire Halloween franchise, other than the first movie and the third, this is probably the next one that I've rewatched the most. So I would want to stick this in A, even though our A is starting to get a little crowded.
Excuse me while I chug this beer after your talk.
Oh my god. You can't.
All right. Seeing how this has gone so far, I am ready for the hate. Andres, are you bringing any hate, or are you agreeing with me?
I'm not agreeing with you, but I will say I don't necessarily hate this movie either. For me, this movie is kind of the epitome of sort of like it's just fine for me. It didn't. Seeing some of the origin stuff kind of did piss me off a little bit, because it's like we don't like how you were saying, Tori, about Halloween 6. We don't need to see the origin of why Michael becomes what he does. I mean, if anything, sometimes it's just better just to sort of see that, you know what, he something happened. No one can ever explain it, and that's pretty much it. What I kind of dislike about this movie is zombie stylistic choices in terms of the portrayal of Michael Myers as an adult, because he goes from being this small little kid like Dag, and then all of a sudden turns in this huge hulking dude has massive muscle and all sort of stuff. And when has he ever had time to do any of that, when he's just sitting around making masks?
It's a lot of push-ups.
A lot of push-ups, guys.
A lot of beef patties.
Yeah. Sure. But the other thing too, that just kind of, there are so many moments in this movie that are meant to be taken seriously, but they are so laughable. Like, I'm just going to take a moment of honesty, but Dag's first kill wearing the mask, that is hilarious. That little kid wearing the Michael Myers mask, walking towards his sister. Like, anytime I saw this movie in the theaters, I saw this twice in theaters. Every time that moment popped up, people laughed. People laughed at that. And it's there's certain things that Zombie does in this that I really do like in terms of the portrayal of like the actors and all this other stuff. I think Malcolm McDowell was a suitable replacement for Donald Pleasance for this different version, but I still prefer Donald Pleasance. But if you can't get Donald Pleasance, you know what, Malcolm McDowell did a great job, I thought. What else? The kills are actually more vicious and brutal in this one. Yeah. And I totally agree with you on the point with the whole hillbilly aspect. Like, even to the point where it kind of feels like all the swearing in the movie just feels so just jarring. Like, it's trying as hard as it can be to be as ugly as it possibly could. Yeah. And that's what sort of deterred me away from the experience of watching this the first time. Overall, I will say this one for me just kind of goes into a B. It's fine. I don't disagree that's I mean, I don't necessarily think that's the worst one out of the bunch. I don't think it's the best one either. It's just kind of there and it's just fine. So B for me.
And I see Tim is over there looking like he's like loading his like gun, just ready to go with this type of thing. He's like, let me get comfortable and I am ready to give y'all some knowledge. Tim, what do you think of this one?
I'll preface this by saying, because what I'm about to say about this film and the next film, people will be like, oh, well, he just doesn't like Rob Zombie films. Let me say this. I actually really enjoy Rob Zombie as a director. I love the Firefly trilogy. I really like 31. Most people hate that movie. I like 31. So I'll say that to start off with. I do really enjoy Rob Zombie films. But I absolutely hate and can't stand his Halloween films. Hate them with a burning passion. I've only seen this film twice. I've only seen Halloween 2 once, which was last year or 2 years ago. I will have no plans to like rewatch them if I'm ever rewatching the franchise. They do nothing for me. I have maybe 2 things that I can say just for the hell of it that are positive, but we'll come to those later. I think I hate the origin story aspect of this film. I think it's unnecessary. It's not what Michael is. I like the mystery behind Michael, like Michael being a force of evil. I don't need to see him being like a gross kid that tortures animals and then murders a bully. Like, I think that's all like really gross. And I think the what he did with the Myers family is borderline offensive to like a class, to like people in like a lower class. Yeah. And I think these films are like weirdly like aggressively violent to women, which I don't like either. And the one positive I can say is it has Danielle Harris in it, which I mentioned before. I love Danielle Harris, but I also hate the fact that like she's treated so like she's just brutally murdered. Like, of course, Annie dies. We know that, but it's like brutal in this film, and she actually doesn't die. She doesn't die in the second film. So they do it to her. They do it to her twice. But I think it's like gross and unnecessary. I do like Malcolm McDowell as Loomis. I think he's great, but I don't think he's Donald Pleasance. So Donald Pleasance is still better, but I think he's a great Loomis. But yeah, I really, really aggressively do not like this movie, and I find it kind of gross. And Pat and I in chat, he said, PJ, I call him Pat. Pat said that like we've had many conversations about these films, and we are in the same mindset. Like, and he loves Zombie as well. Like he makes more sense to have directed a Texas Chainsaw movie. That style fits him more than Halloween, and I would think his like take on a Texas Chainsaw movie would have been fantastic, because I think that's kind of like what this is almost. It's like they didn't give him a Texas Chainsaw movie, and he did this instead. And like that's kind of like what we got. And of course, the Firefly films are basically Texas Chainsaw movies already, so I guess it wouldn't make sense necessarily for him to do that. But yeah, I do not like these movies whatsoever, and I will die on that hill. I do not like them. Aggressively hate them. I considered watching them for this podcast, for this thing, and I was like, nope, just can't do it. Can't do it. Not gonna do it. No. And Brad Dourif, I like Brad Dourif too. Brad Dourif is Sheriff Brackett. I mean, that's a good casting as well. But like, yeah, I just find the violence like, and it's weird because I like Zombie, but like I just don't like the violence in this film, man. It's like, it's gross to me. Well, it feels like it's like,
also backing you up on that as well. Like, a lot of the women that die in this die like Danielle Harris's whole entire scene. Like she's bare chested and Michael.
Yeah,
Myers
she's naked
stabbing
too, which
her.
is weird to me too. Like you give her a topless scene, which is very strange to me too, because she's the child actress in the franchise earlier, and it's just so bizarre to me, and it's just kind of gross. So
no, I absolutely agree with you on that, and it just like
I was wondering how we were going to handle that topic when that pops up in this conversation.
we have to bring it up because it's one of those things where it's we've seen nudity in the Halloween film, but it didn't feel nearly as gratuitous and ugly as it did in this one. And like I said before, this feels like it's trying so hard to prove how ugly it is more than anything else. So yeah.
Tori,
so
how much do you love this movie?
So I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I do think, admittedly, I had said this was the first Halloween movie I ever saw. And I do think there's a lot of nostalgia in this one for me. I remember being a kid watching Kid Mike Myers and just like something about that. Again, like, I don't know if it's a common fear people have or if I was just going through some stuff as a kid, but I was like, I had the fear of being like victimized, but I also had this like trying to understand Michael so I knew I wouldn't become him kind of thing. I think it's like a simultaneous fear of like, I don't want to be like that. So like what made him this way? And like, if it's similar to me, like I didn't have the best family situation. I think you made a really good point though about it's like offensive to different class things, because I was kind of like, his mom's a stripper. And I'm like, okay, like that's not like the worst. Like, I don't know. It is just really strange how they depict like the like complex or the hard family situation, because I do think a lot of it was just like kind of against women. Like your mom can't be a stripper because that would be like a worst case scenario. It's really weird. So to me, this movie's entertaining and it has nostalgia for me, but I do agree with your points. Specifically about like the women in this movie, I thought was really rough. I think I just like had an understanding, or when I was a kid, I just like, I guess, had a poor understanding of like Rob Zombie and like distinguishing between different types of violence. So to me, it was just like horror movie, and I was getting into horror movies at the time. So I think I just was like, my standards were just all over the place. But I think it's entertaining. I do think that I talked about before, having Michael Myers have an origin story isn't for me. I think during this time, so this was like 2003. Was it
2007.
Why do I keep going like 1 year past? 2007, I feel like there was still like this urge to like, again, like explain psychologically like why people do things. And I was a psych major in college, and we've honestly like moved away from that, and now it's more like you can look at someone's background and it might help you understand why they did what they did, but sometimes it doesn't at all. Like talking about Kid Mike Myers, like again, not to keep mentioning my true crime thing, but like Ted Bundy had like a pretty normal childhood. He wasn't normal. Like he set tiger traps for people. Fun fact. They were like, yeah, like at summer camp, he used to just set tiger traps to catch the girls. And you're like, no one was like, maybe let's get this kid some therapy.
How's that a fun fact?
It's a true fact that he said.
Who's Ted Bundy? Who's Ted Bundy again?
Yeah,
he's in Married with Children.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes,
That's an American Psycho reference for anybody right there.
Yeah, same one. And so for me, it's like I think we moved away from that, and so it dates this movie a lot for me. But again, I have nostalgia for it. I can admit that for what it is. So to me, I would put this in like a low C or D because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what did everyone else put it? Robert, did you give yours yet?
I think it's pretty clear where I put it.
I was saying A, so we got this one. This one's like kind of all over the place, it seems like.
About as split as the reception was, because I put it at a B.
So I was saying A, you said B. Tim? I mean, isn't it obvious?
It's an A.
This would go in a Z. This is a Z for me.
And
the very end of the alphabet.
Tori, where were you?
Like low C, high D.
So it actually looks like it should fit right here, pretty much, given our opinions.
Yeah.
Tim will never
So.
live this one down.
It's fine. People know my opinion on it. That's what matters.
That's fair.
That was the whole purpose of this. Get that opinion out there. It's public and people can see it.
All I will say is go ahead and watch the first 5 minutes of this film, and you will see exactly where we're coming from in terms of how abrasive it is. Because it's just like, wow,
Yeah,
there's like 20 F-bombs in the first 5 minutes.
I mean, it's not surprising
All
if you know Rob Zombie's like filmography. It's not surprising, but like, it just doesn't work for me in this franchise. For me, his style doesn't work for me at all in this franchise.
I will say, like in nods to that. I do remember there, like when I was like a teenager in the 90s, of course, I typically do have like a normal liberal use of the F word. I feel like it's not every other word because I'm able to still maintain composure on a stream like this. But I did feel that like super excessive. And going back to like when I was a teenager in the 90s, I remember listening to certain songs where they just said it so many times. I was like, I just don't want to listen. This isn't music. This is just them saying the F word to a beat. Like I just like, I can't stand that. So yeah, I do understand specifically the breakfast scene in that. It was just irritating. And I was like, I just want this one particular scene to hurry up and be done with.
Yeah, we've never heard in a movie someone refer to eggs as chicken abortions. It's like, oh my God, you are really trying hard right now, Rob. and also the girl that plays Judith was Jenny from freaking Forrest Gump.
Yeah, and Forrest Gump. Yeah.
All right.
Another person who has a gratuitous topless scene. I'm like, why? Why do we? I didn't need to see that.
Also, no surprise, but Sherry Moon Zombie. I don't know if you guys know this, but she's in these movies.
Oh, really? Rob Zombie's girlfriend, wife.
His wife. Which I'm a fan of, but it's kind of hey, she's in these movies.
How do you know this is a Rob Zombie movie? Sherry Moon Zombie is in it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think she's only been in Rob Zombie movies.
She's been in other. I've seen her in other movies besides Rob Zombie, but she is in every Rob Zombie movie.
She's been in very few movies though. Like
not too many.
I am excited for his Munsters movie. Pat and I talk about that. Like,
what?
We're wondering if he's how can he do a Munsters movie? It's going to be weird. We'll see.
Let me guess.
Can he make a family friendly? Yeah, she is. Can he make a family friendly Munsters film? So
no, you guys are messing with me right now.
You didn't know that? Yeah, he's doing a Munsters movie.
Yeah, they've already released pictures.
I mean, they rebuilt the house. It looks great. And I like Daniel Roebuck as the grandpa.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Anyways, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 came out in 2009. So we started with me on the last one?
Just let me go real quick. So
okay.
Go off.
I'm not going to go off a lot on this one because I already said I don't like both these films. Aggressively don't like both these films. I will say, if I had to choose which one I would rather watch, I would rather watch this one. Because it's just weird and doesn't make really much sense at all, and it's just crazy. I will say I hate the Michael Myers mask in this film. It's trash. I hate that. It's like torn. It's just basically nothing. I hate that. I hate the ending. I don't like the ending at all. What else can I say? I hate that they killed Danielle Harris again, brutally again. Make us go through that again. Brad Dourif is great. And Malcolm McDowell is great. I guess like the hospital stuff at the beginning is kind of is okay. It's kind of reminiscent of 2 a little bit, But yeah, I really don't like these movies. The White Horse. I mean, get out of here. Yeah.
Oh, Rob.
F tier. I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's F tier, but it's. I would say I would rather watch this than 2007 because it's just kind of batshit bonkers. I won't. And it's a family-friendly station. It's bonkers.
How do you talk about like how the Halloween movies and keep it family friendly? Like,
how do you talk about the Rob Zombie?
Movie where
how do you talk about the Rob Zombie Halloween movies?
We talked about Saw and kept it PG-13, so
yeah,
anything is possible.
Tori,
this is my F tier. This is it for me. This is I just don't find this one entertaining at all. I was like trying to pull up. I haven't seen this one in a long time. I saw it again like a couple years ago, I think, when I was getting into it. There's no nostalgia for me because I didn't see it when I was younger, so there's no saving grace for it for me. I just don't think it's entertaining or interesting. Yeah, so for me it's an F. I don't know. There's like, it's Rob Zombie-ish, so it's that, but it's like the weird music video stuff is weird. It's very MTV. And again, there's no nostalgia to save it for me.
And burn through the witches. Yeah.
That's one of my go-to karaoke songs, actually.
Yeah, between Dragula and Living Dead Girl, yeah, absolutely.
Spook Show, baby.
Yeah.
I like Living Dead Girl was so overplayed in the 90s. Every other movie.
I'm starting to foresee where this one's actually going to land, and I kind of like the direction it's going because I've seen this movie once. I thought it was stupid, and I haven't watched it since.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen this one all the way through. Andres, where do you want to put it?
Oh boy. Well, I'll say a couple of things about this movie. First off, the first 10 minutes are great because I feel that was Rob Zombie kind of going like, you know what? This is the Halloween movie that I've been waiting to do. A straight up grindhouse version of Michael Myers. Going through the hospital, killing everybody in sort of the best aspects of 2 done under the guise of Rob Zombie. I was on board with it. Then, for some reason, they do the time jump of 1 year, and just the interpretation of Laurie Strode just kind of felt so off. The interpretation of Malcolm McDowell, just like not necessarily being this character that's trying to help Michael, but all of a sudden he's just turned into this like really salty, disgusting old man who's just
doesn't he like write a book in this one? And he's kind of like
he's on a book tour.
Yeah, he like thinks he's like the top, super cool.
He wrote the book in the last one.
Okay.
And then in this one, he's on the tour, but people just keep asking him about Michael Myers. And it has probably one of the most unintentionally funny lines Dr. Loomis has ever said in the franchise. It's just, all right, guys, let me make this nice and sparkling clear. Michael Myers is fucking dead. I'm like, oh my God. They even took Dr. Loomis and turned him into a swearing asshole like all the rest of Zombies characters does. So, and here's the thing. I had to test this movie out when I was a projectionist over at a movie theater. I literally remember testing this movie out, and literally it was only about an hour and 20 minutes long. I walked out. I couldn't remember a single thing about this movie. Couldn't remember a single thing except those 10 minutes. This is by far the worst Halloween movie I've ever seen. F, 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 F.
I think he wants to give it an F.
Did you say A?
Guys, it sounds like this is gonna go.
You got your F finally, Robert.
Thank God. This was another one of the movies I could easily if y'all were gonna start leaning F, I was just gonna be like, yeah, take it. Take the F. Go to the F. Yeah, I can't stand this movie. So moving on.
See, I completely forgot Margot Kidder was in this. I don't compute this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just don't. Margot Kidder.
If you want to see a slasher movie Margot Kidder's in, just watch Black Christmas. It's 1,000 times better than this movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's got Olivia Hussey in it, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The 2018 Halloween, directed by David Gordon Green, written by Danny McBride. What is this movie? Really? So we started with Tim last time. Let's start with Tori.
I wasn't upset by this movie, but it also didn't do a ton for me. I think Jamie Lee Curtis was fantastic. I think it's kind of amazing to see someone go through a franchise from the time she's so young until now, and see how her acting skills have changed. I think the trauma aspect to this is really interesting. Love trauma movies. I know some people complained like she didn't prep enough. Like, well, you only get like a house with a trap door. And I'm like, I justified it in my head by saying, well, she has a family. And likely she was still struggling with like rationalizing it to other people. Like, if I just wanted a bunker with like grenade launchers and turrets on the side of it, I'd have to justify it to a ton of people. And if I had a family, it'd be even harder. And like there's a whole thing. So I just justified it by saying like she has kids, she is struggling, like her kids didn't agree with her. They didn't like as an adult, the kids really gave her a hard time. We did rank this movie twice. So I thought that stuff was interesting, like focusing more on the trauma of it. And I love the long take with Michael Myers, I will say. To me, like that's one of my favorite scenes across the franchise. Like, I think what's scary about him, and people make fun of like the running thing of like you look one place and he's not there, like he must be running around the house. But I think the speed at which he can demolish an entire family is what like gets you. So to see him walk into a house and just like walk into another, like it's just nonstop. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't pause. There's no moment of like understanding of a reflection or what he did. And so for that scene and for Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, this would be like a B for me. It's not as great as some of the others we've talked about, but there was nothing in it. The Lomas stuff was predictable to me of like the twist with that. But overall, like nothing about this movie really like upset me. So I would put it at a B.
Yeah, pretty much agree with that. That B was where I was thinking of sticking this. Here's the thing. By now, we had the original Halloween movies that we've had, like with the exception of 3, that again has absolutely nothing to do with the rest of this franchise, except like nice little nods to the masks. We had all the way up until like the 6th one, and then we jumped to Halloween H2O, which Halloween H2O takes place after the original Halloween 2, and then goes from there. Then we had Rob Zombie's two Halloween movies that have nothing to do with the entire franchise at all. Now we've got this one, which this one now goes back and takes place after the 1978 original, retconning the fact that Laurie Strode was Michael Myers' sister, completely out of the franchise. That was my biggest drawback on this. I understand why we're going back and trying to produce new stories and like alternate dimensions, but I feel like this is going to be like, with it doing it too many times, I'm kind of burnt out on this. Like, let's restart with this over here. Like, if this parallel dimension was doing that, I know I'm setting myself up for having a hard time with the Marvel movies as they're going right now. But yeah, we're talking about like a multiverse of the Halloween movies, and I'm just tired of it by now. This movie was very like just blasé. I don't know why we needed this. I guess there's a couple of cool things in it. Definitely the one take shot, which I think doesn't it happen like twice in this movie? Isn't there 2 like long take shots in this? I believe. I know there was the one where the woman's looking out her front window and you see Michael Myers walking past the side windows behind her, and then he comes in from behind her and stuff, like all in one shot. That was gorgeous. That is a great shot. But yeah, the rest of this movie, I'm like, I really don't necessarily need this. The trapping Michael Myers in the house in the basement at the end was a cool idea. If Halloween Kills didn't come out and just Halloween Kills took the wind out the sails of the ending to this movie. So it's watchable. It's entertaining. I would stick it probably in a B because I probably would rather watch this over the Rob Zombie Halloween. Given that it's in a C now, I would put this one B.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
Andres.
Yeah, for me, I had really high hopes going into this movie because it is also the first time that Carpenter has returned as an executive producer to the franchise since 3, and he was really giddy and excited for this. And seeing the movie, I wasn't necessarily I wasn't necessarily let down by it, but I was just kind of like, okay, it was kind of a simple movie to sort of reestablish the franchise and get it back on track. So for it doing that, I actually really enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoy the whole Laurie Strode aspect where she's just this badass and just kind of living as a hermit and just kind of showing us what the true trauma of what going through something like this would possibly be. And also, I just love how that not only translated to Lori, but that translated to her daughter and her granddaughter as well. So I just love seeing that family dynamic still come into play with this. But probably one of the big things about this movie that I really do enjoy, that I think kind of got a little thrown under the curtain a little bit, is Judy Greer. If they had given her so much more of a beefier role, I think she would have done so much better in this. Like, I think her moment in the film when she's crying with the shotgun going like, Mom, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then Michael just appears right in front. And she immediately just goes from a crying face to just a gotcha. Bam. I'm like, yeah, that's a badass moment right there. And then also flipping the script in terms of certain things happening in the original film. There are nods in this one, like Lori falling out of the house and Michael looking down and her not being there. Fantastic play on the original. But again, it's all moments that have been built up in other films. This doesn't feel like its own film, unfortunately. Having said that, it's a fun watch. It's a fun watch. Plus, also, I have to give a shout out to the kid in this movie is probably one of my favorite kids in any horror film, where he's just sitting around just going like, you know what? I have a babysitter, but you know what? You're doing a horrible job. She'd be reading me a bedtime story. Instead, I'm up clipping my nasty ass toenails.
Yeah.
Then I love the moment where like literally the babysitter goes up and sees Michael and he literally just goes, "Oh shit!" like that little kid just made the movie for me at that point in time. I mean, I know it's a small little element, but that was just one of my favorite things. It was like, oh, shit. Just having him appear in Halloween Kills as well. But we'll get to it. Solid B for me.
Tim.
I also had high expectations for this movie. I came my way just kind of like, yeah, it's good. It's not great. I don't love it. I like several movies way more than this. Some things I love, as everyone's mentioned, the like long take through the neighborhood is great. I love Will Patton as Deputy Hawkins, and I hated that he appeared to die at the end of this, only to be living in the next one. So I love that. But I love Will Patton. So anytime I can get him in a movie, I'm happy.
James A. Janice agrees with you.
I hated. I loved the bathroom scene with the podcasters. I thought that was great as well. That kill was very intense and freaky. Where he throws the teeth over the stall. I thought that was incredible. I also do think the podcasters are a bit unnecessary and kind of silly. I guess the point of them being in the film was to connect Michael with his mask, I guess. So I can see that. But, I didn't love that aspect of the movie. I also aggressively do not like the replacement Loomis, Dr. Sartain. I hate that. I hate that he was his whole like thing in the film. I hated it. Did not like it at all.
So you're the new Loomis.
Right. I think it's got some good kills. I think the violence is handled well. I agree with Tori on the fact that I don't really understand the critiques of her like preparation, because I agree, like she's, despite her trauma, she did have a family and raised a child who now has a child of her own. So I'm sure she spent a good portion of that 40 years raising a family and not necessarily being able to fully prep. So we're not, I'm not looking at it as like she's had 40 years to prep. This is all you did. I'm looking at it as more as like, okay, maybe she had like, 10 years to really fully prep because of the previous obligations,
But what lack of prep are we talking about? She bars them in and burns the house down.
Right,
What
right.
more do you want?
She built a pretty cool contraption too, with a kitchen island that moves, and
I've heard the critique
she
from
gets
people,
an A.
but yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I know one person who has that critique, and he and I see differently on it, very much so. We probably all know who I'm talking about. Anyway, this movie would be a B for me, but it would be at the very end of the Bs. I'm gonna say that.
Well, right now it's
the only B.
Yeah,
I'm looking at my own list. I'm like, it's the last of the Bs for me, but it would be the first of the Bs on this. Yes.
Yep. So this one is being our only B right now. So interesting. Halloween Kills. Now, I don't really feel like there's too much to spoil when we're talking about this movie. Granted, before this movie even came out, we already knew that there was another one called Halloween Ends planned. So, spoiler, Michael's still alive at the end of this one. We knew that going into this one. So
he's still alive?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who are we at with first here?
You.
Me? There's like the good and the bad with this one. I like the idea, the concept of the entire town is now like against Michael Myers. So many times we've seen the slasher movie trope of like 1, 2, 3, maybe like a group of 5 friends that all realize that there's some kind of deadly killer out there and nobody will listen to them. And like the police are inept. They can't do anything. No one else will help them. All the parents are like busy either getting drunk or not listening to their kids. This is a complete like stereotype of horror movies, all like 70s, 80s, 90s. We've seen this so many times. I don't think we've seen the level that this does where it's the entire town is all like, we all know Michael Myers exists. We all hate him. We're all okay with just straight up killing him. That's a weird idea. It's a new concept, and I kind of like that about this movie. What I hated was the execution. Like, we're all in on this, but we're going to split up into like 3 different groups for the most part in this movie. And each one of the groups has its own like group leader and its own ideas and agendas. That I felt was just very disorganized. I would have liked to have still have left it with the one solid group handling everything. I also don't like the part of the other escapee in the hospital and everyone thinks he's Michael Myers, but he's like this like penguin looking MFer from like Batman Returns. Like, there's no way you're mistaking this guy for the big, tall, beefy 40 years surviving Michael Myers. Like, and especially because throughout this movie, we've seen you, townspeople of Haddonfield, watching a TV that had a picture of Michael Myers on the effing TV. You know what he looks like. You are stupid. Stupid people. Like, that was what's really annoying. You know, in all honesty, I've said this on Twitter plenty of times. The best part of this movie, Big John and Little John. They are the ticket sellers for this movie easily. The rest of this movie, just so many problems. And I will go into the ending of this, where all the townspeople surround him, and we're all doing the one at a time attacking him with like a baseball bat or hockey stick, or I think someone has an iron at one point.
Yeah. Basically attacking him with every single item that has been used to attack Michael Myers in the previous film.
When I saw this in the theater, there's the part where Judy Greer, who does much better in this movie than she did in the previous one.
Oh, yeah.
there's a part where she gets him onto the ground, and the people sitting next to me in the theater were like, "The F are you doing? Kick him! He's down! Don't stop!" Like, this was one of those times where I was actually okay with people shouting in the theater at the screen. Like, it was great. And I'm like, yeah, do that. Kill him.
Mhm.
Nope. So this one set up the idea that now Michael Myers has supernatural powers, and no matter what you do, he will always live and survive through it.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's my thoughts. This movie, like, it was watchable. It did things I like. I would throw this in a low D, but I mean, if everyone's going F, like, I'm all for it.
All right. Well, for me, I had high expectations going into this, and I started to worry a little bit when the first trailer for this popped up, or the first teaser where Laurie Strode and the rest of the family are screaming, "No, let it burn! Don't do your jobs, first responders!" It's like, Laurie, did you not think to, like, do some precaution with that? Where it's like, you know what? Their house is in the middle of nowhere, last I saw. And then, like, oh my goodness, like, Jen brought up the gun kata. That to me is my biggest pet peeve, because it's just like, no one in this movie knows how to use a freaking gun. Every time someone points a gun at him, Michael Myers just happens to magically just backhand the freaking gun out of nowhere right before the trigger is pulled. How many times does that happen all throughout this movie? It's utterly ridiculous. The kills are kind of uninspired to a certain extent. Everyone in this movie is dumb, and I'm having such a hard time trying not to swear when talking about this movie, because I had such high hopes for it, and I was looking for it. I was so looking forward to it, and then it just kind of really, really just let me down in a lot of respects. And honestly, it didn't feel like the 2018 movie that I went to go see. It felt like a completely different director had directed it, and it just felt like, I don't know, it felt like, honestly, it was taking some of the best elements from Halloween 2 and some of the sequels, and then some of the worst elements that just did not work. Like, keeping this entire story grounded was great, but going with the supernatural element, I don't know. They so clearly defined the realistic tone, and I was enjoying that. And then I was just really disappointed by it. I really wanted to love this movie, but ultimately for me, it falls at a C ranking. It would be lower than Curse of Michael Myers, but higher than the Rob Zombie film. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to enjoy this movie. I went into this movie so excited. This was one of my most anticipated movies of 2021, and it just didn't do it for me. I just felt like Danny McBride's worst elements as a writer came through with this film, and just the style on this was just kind of all over the place, and it's not David Gordon Green's best effort either. So for me, it's just a really big disappointment.
So I don't mean to cover your face, but I do like this comment. Kick a car door and get them to shoot themselves. I remember that happened, and every single person in my theater was laughing. I was like, that's not necessarily the reaction you want in a horror movie.
No. And right before that, we have the nurse that goes, "This is for Sam Loomis."
Yeah.
And then someone in my theater literally yelled out, "Someone's not keeping count." I was like, oh my God, did someone just throw a freaking Deadpool reference in the middle of a Halloween movie? Oh, goodness. But yeah, I was just really disappointed by it. I wanted to love it.
Yeah. Tim.
I'm going to go last.
Okay. I didn't enjoy this one. I found this one really confusing in its messaging. Like, I watched it with Ben Goddard and a few other people, I think, in the chat. And so we were all reacting to it live together. And yeah, we definitely laughed at moments I feel like we shouldn't have laughed at, because it was just shot really weirdly. But then with like the mob mentality stuff, it's like, I think it's a cool idea to have a community come together and like say like, you know what, the police aren't really able to handle this because this is not a typical thing, and like also F the police right now in current reality. So the movie's trying to be relevant. So I'm like, okay, like it seems like modern to like be like, all right, the community's gonna come together and take care of themselves and like be like, police, you failed us and we're gonna go get him. Seems relevant and like topical. But then it's like it twists, it turns that, and then it's like, no, like mob mentality's bad. You shouldn't come together to get him because you're gonna pick the wrong guy, and people pick the wrong guy, and then the wrong guy dies. And then it like does it, it flips it again, and it's like, no, they got him. Like they're all gonna take turns. They got him. They got him. It's good. They got him. And you know, you could say the film was trying to argue like and a kind of ambiguous message for that of like, I don't know, like coming together for stuff is just a chaotic thing. And I don't know. But I just found it really weird with the messaging for that. Like, it seemed like they wanted to do something with the town. It seemed like they wanted to be somewhat topical, but it just kept reversing its stance for me. And then, you know, the end I found was like predictable of like, he's not dead, obviously. And you know, like the last scene was fine, but there was just not anything that was really entertaining for me. The argument that like the people in this movie are dumb, I agree with. And that's fine. I can watch dumb people being dumb and be entertained, but I wasn't entertained by this. It was like cheap action for me, that wasn't new and wasn't interesting. Like having people be bad with a gun can be humorous, but it's like when I'm watching it for, how long is this movie? Like an hour and a half?
Yeah, about an hour and 40.
Like it's a lot of that, and it's like like for everyone to be doing the same thing over and over and over again for an hour and 40, I'm just like, and I loved Little John and Big John, but like it almost felt like weirdly offensive to me that they just die and like don't really have an impact at all. Like they're just put in there kind of for like, I don't know, like humor, and they die together. It's just like we meet all these new people and they just die, but it doesn't feel like there's a lot of stakes of like, oh, we just met all these people and they died, oh no. It's just like, I'm just not entertained. I don't have connections to these people. I don't really know what's going on. The messaging is unclear for me. So to me, this one would be like a D. It's not as offensive as like an F would be. Like I didn't leave it being angry. I was just like, wow, that didn't entertain me. Like I wouldn't watch that again. So yeah, I would put it at a D. Sorry, PJ.
So where are we agreeing with this? Like, are we all like kind of like hovering around like the D level? Tim?
I haven't talked yet.
Oh yeah.
So
okay.
I absolutely adore this movie. And I will say this. I love slashers. I already said that slashers is my favorite genre of horror, subgenre of horror. I love the Friday the 13th franchise the most. And I love slashers that don't take themselves seriously. And this movie doesn't take itself seriously. That I think was the biggest problem with 2018. So I don't want any of the Halloween movies to try to be Halloween 78, because you're not going to be Halloween 78. Nothing will ever be as good as Halloween 78. So I don't want anyone to try to make Halloween 78. I want them to make a fun slasher movie. And that's what this is. I enjoy fun slasher movies. This was a fun slasher movie. I love bringing back all the old cast members. You bring back Sheriff Brackett. You bring back Lindsay. You bring back Tommy. I wish they could have got Paul Rudd as Tommy. I think having Paul Rudd as Tommy would have gone a long way to make Tommy more likable in this movie. However, I do think it's successful because talking about the mob mentality, the way I walk away from this film, I don't think mob mentality is really ever good. And I think the point of this movie is to show that mob mentality is not good. And it's also a callback to Halloween 4, because there's a mob mentality in Halloween 4, and it's a similar result. The locals get together to form a posse. And what do? They kill a kid. They kill a person that they think is Michael Myers, and he's not Michael Myers. They murder someone. Same thing in this movie. This movie feels like David Gordon Green said, you know what, fans of 4 through 6, I see you, and I'm going to make a movie for you, because that's what this movie feels like. This movie, there's so many callbacks to that timeline and to that era of slasher. I love the Supernatural Michael. I love Jason after all, so I'm totally okay with Supernatural Michael. I love with the way I come away with this movie is I see Tommy as a villain. So with Tommy dying at the end of the movie, spoilers, I don't care. I'm actually kind of like, yeah, he kind of deserves it. He's a kind of an asshole and a douche. Oh, sorry, but I think he deserves it.
Assholes are okay. You naturally have those on your body.
In terms of like Judy Greer not like going for a kill shot, we also have to remember this is a slasher. There are certain tropes that they work with. They never go back for a kill shot.
No.
So that's expected. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, they're not going to go back for a kill shot because that never happens in the slasher. Also, Michael does get shot a few times in this movie at that scene where the people attack him. He does get shot. Definitely once he gets shot. And I don't think there's any actual gun kata. He doesn't actually handle a weapon. That's not gun kata.
No,
gun kata would be
the freaking gun.
Yes, but he doesn't handle a weapon, so it doesn't count as gun kata. He's just defending himself. Gun kata would be if he was handling a gun himself and using a weapon. So gun kata doesn't exist in this movie.
When you kick a car door against a gun and they successfully manage to blow someone's brains out, the rule book goes out the window by that point.
It's not gun kata. It's still not gun kata. It's silly, and I appreciate it for its silliness. It's dumb, but I love it for its dumbness. This movie is... I will say this is how I walk away from this movie. This movie is a movie made for fans of the franchise, not fans of Halloween 78. So, like, watching this, I'm sorry, Tori, you had to watch this for the first time with Ben Goddard. Like, that would have been torture. That would have been torture for me because he is not a fan of this franchise. He doesn't understand this franchise. Man. He's probably never seen any of the other movies in this franchise. So he's just going to shit on it, and he has no actual, like, reason to, like, know anything about, like, this whole franchise. Like, seeing it, if I would have watched that for the first time with him, I probably would have blown my brains out.
He's a good guy. He's seen the other ones. We watched it with a few others.
No, I love Ben.
I will not tolerate Ben Goddard hate in this chat.
I love Ben. I'm always in his chat. I'm just saying. I was just saying, like, that would have been rough for me to watch it with him, but because I love this movie and I think it's a tribute to fans who love the franchise overall. And I will not go on much more about it because this movie was a reason. This movie almost made me not want to do this stream because I love it so, and I've hated the commentary around it because I love it so, and I don't like engaging in like all that kind of commentary. But I love it, and I would put it at an A, and it's solidly an A for me. And I can't wait to see where they go with it. I'm sad they may have killed off Judy Greer. We'll see, but
she's dead. Come on.
It's very possible.
She's dead.
We're talking about the Halloween franchise.
Nobody that comes across Michael Myers in this movie survives. Michael Myers does exactly what the rest of the townspeople should do. He double taps. Oh, your boyfriend's up on top with a broken neck? Oh, he's still breathing. You know what? I gotta finish things. I gotta see things through. Take that, Laurie Strode.
Oh, wait, let's mention this because no one mentioned this. The 1978 stuff in this movie is incredible.
The casting of the prosthetic that they did, the practical effects they did to create Loomis is incredible. So good.
And yeah, I loved all the 1978 stuff was amazing. And again, I mentioned it in the previous film, but I love the fact that they retconned Will Patton's death, and I love that he's back in this film, and I believe he seems like he's going to play a bigger part in Halloween Ends as well in terms of helping Laurie end this, because it was obviously alluded that he was the father of Judy Greer's character in this film. So, yeah, I love Halloween Kills. I'm sorry, but I do.
Okay,
and I won't back down from that ever.
Where are we placing this? Because now we're starting to sound like we're probably like in C territory.
I did say C. I said right in between Curse and Rob Zombie's movie. Shut up, PJ.
Here's the thing. I'm not 100% sold on this yet. I want to try something. So I removed the marquee just because I do want to. Holy crap, y'all. I forgot we have a private chat. So I want to try something different here real quick for this final one. Let's get a couple of more opinions. Let's get a couple opinions of people who've been very vocal in the chat. Let's hear how they actually feel on stream. Welcome to the Marquee. PJ Campbell, and Mr. Paul Denuzio. Better known
good,
as
we got.
DOC. All right.
Someone on my
made it.
team.
Let's start.
Bring
let's
it.
start.
PJ's
Let's
like,
start
I gotta
with
go.
PJ. Let's start with PJ. What do you want to talk about on Halloween Kills?
Look, I think number one, you guys being so upset about people being so stupid. Did we not all live through the same last 4 years in this world together?
Yeah.
That, whether or not you want to think that this movie should be touching the actual political climate of our world is one thing, but the entire thing is that this is how we've lived the last 4 years. This entire town is doing the shit that we've seen our country do for 5 years under all this shit. So them doing this, it was like the most brilliant thing possible. My dogs are super whatever about it, but like,
These are like,
but
I just love that whenever you finish the sentence, you just hear woof.
Yes.
The whole thing became that, like, you guys they showed the picture of Michael. Yeah, we saw people at an insurrection that people are saying didn't fucking happen. Sorry, I'm swearing. Like, this stuff
That didn't last long.
happens.
See, you were afraid of me swearing, Robert.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, for that alone, the stuff in Haddonfield, whether you like it or not, is some of the most brilliant parts of this movie, and it's why it works so goddamn well. Like, that alone made this movie actually made my anxiety through the roof while I was watching it, because I was like, I've been living through this for 4 years. This is the only Halloween movie outside of 78 that has made me feel that sort of terror, because I feel like those people would legitimately hunt each other, like hunt any of us down if they saw the wrong picture. So number one, that alone gets it. Michael is the scariest he has been since 78. He actually feels like a boogeyman. Yes, exactly. Like the darkest eyes. That whole last sequence in the movie where he is down on the ground and he rises up and he just starts tearing through everyone. That is the Michael that this whole time we've been like, we should be scared of him. We saw what he did to a bunch of teenagers, but now, like, leaning in on that supernatural aspect that, whether you like 4 through 6 is another thing entirely, but it works in this because that is who he is at the end of the day. Like, we've got rid of all the familial stuff. Like, all that stuff about the family ties doesn't matter anymore. Lean on the supernatural. Michael should be the boogeyman. This movie gets that. Paul, I'll let you go.
This was, like I said, I think Tim might have said it best. This, to me, Halloween 2018 was trying to be a love letter to 78 in a way that it can't really be. And that's why it wasn't completely successful. I liked 2018. This was a love letter to everything that came after it. And it was done in all the right ways. It was done with reverence to some of the characters, I feel. The right kind of reverence. Like, I love the fact that Lindsay, all grown-up Lindsay, is now being the babysitter role. She actually gets the kids in the park. She's the one, she's being Jamie Lee Curtis because that's what she lived through. Tommy, he becomes, sometimes you become Lindsay, sometimes you become a Tommy. Tommy became an asshole. And that's all I just said too. I'm sorry, swearing now too. Tommy just became a jerk. That's all there is to it. So Tommy getting hit at the end is exactly what this film needed. The whole film is absurd, and I feel like people sometimes are taking it too seriously. This is not supposed to be a really serious film. It's an absurdist take on serious roles, and then you're throwing in a magical slasher in there to make it that way as well. So, I mean, to me, this is like exactly what this needed to be compared to Halloween. Halloween 2018 was its own thing. Halloween Kills is its own thing, and I think that Halloween Ends is going to be the make or break from the franchise.
I'll say this too. Sorry, real quick. Like, I honestly, and like, I texted PLD this morning. I had a full conversation with all of our friend here. Christian Harloff was texting me about this movie this morning. And we were having the exact same conversation because he's where the rest of you guys were outside of Tim, where he was like, man, I can't believe you love this movie. And I'm like, you have to understand, like, for the people like us who we grew up waiting for Michael to be that Michael, like outside of 78. We've diminished him every single time he's come back. In 2018's biggest problem is for how serious it took itself. H2O did almost all the exact same stuff better 20 years before. Like,
I agree.
It was not as serious, but it also, like, if you're going to do it and you wanted to do it with the family ties stuff, at least you did it. Like, we saw that version of Lori get her ending. Like, right. This version had to do the one where it's not familial. It's just, oh shit, these people are like, this dude killed a bunch of teenagers. He was here and now he's coming back because he just has a blood feud. Cool. Fine. Like, if that's what we're going to do, then lean on the supernatural of it and let's do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they took. I like what they did with the Doctor. They made the Doctor like the reason. That's
Yes.
the reason. Laurie. There's no Michael doesn't. He's not after Laurie.
I
He wants
love
to go back
that
home.
so much.
The Doctor puts him in that path.
I love the fact that's what got me so much of the fact is that like it totally subverted you. Like you expect it to supposed to go to the blood because that's what he's always done. And in reality, it's much more scarier if it's not that. And it's just like he wants to go home. That makes it a much more scarier boogeyman of a friend. That's pure evil right there.
Absolutely. And that's what made 2018, I think, work really well. And also in certain aspects of Halloween Kills as well, is that Michael is sort of like the shark in Jaws. He's just going to eat whatever comes through his way. It doesn't matter. And then also, I just have to say this, guys. So you guys are saying that this movie is a tribute to the people that love 4, 5, and 6. I'm just afraid Halloween Ends is going to be a tribute for all the people that loved Resurrection, the Rob Zombie remake, and all that other stuff. So I'm just like,
I don't think it will be. I don't think that will
I don't think so either, because I think Gordon Greene cares about the franchise. Like, he so clearly loves this franchise, good and bad, that he's leaned on every version of it so far. Like, in its original timeline, if you will, in like the original stuff it was doing, like down to the masks in this movie that the kids were wearing and the ones that Michael was putting on people were the masks from Halloween 3. Like, they know what they're doing. This movie is such a love letter to everything that is this franchise, while also pushing it forward into a new direction that we've never seen.
And I kind of feel to exactly piggyback on that statement is I kind of feel like Halloween Ends is going to be David Gordon Greene's most personal stamp on the trilogy. I think Halloween 2018 was the love letter to 1. Then you get 4 through 6. I think he's building up, remaking the whole franchise so he can put his stamp on what he thinks the ending should be or whatever. And that's what I'm waiting for, and that's what I can't wait to see.
Also in Halloween Ends, let's get Daniel Harris in it in some form, please. But not obviously not as Jamie Lloyd, but let's get Daniel Harris in the movie.
I'm all for that.
Even in hell, let's get Paul Rudd in there as well.
Also, Josh Hartnett should come back.
PLD though. Did you agree with the rest of our list mostly? I'm curious if this movie is particularly.
Pat and I have like the same list essentially.
I'm similar with PJ. I think, although I am much more of a zombie guy than anybody else is, because I took the zombie stuff. I agree that zombies' takes are much more earthy, gritty, and I love when PJ told me about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I thought that was that sparked like that's exactly what it should have been. I didn't mind the Michael Myers origin story as much because I kind of if it was like a sequel to what had already been made, then I would have had a problem with it. Because it was outside its own universe, its own thing. I was kind of okay with seeing it because it almost took away. It was like Michael Myers alternate universe, which I kind of was okay with. Yeah. But I get why people hate it. I know I'm in the minority of that. I think it's fine. So I probably would have boosted up a little higher than you guys, but for the most part, I agree.
Yeah, I'm pretty much exactly where the list is for the most part. Like Tim and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you hang out with us in any stream at any time, that is how it is when we're in person too. Like, it is just us drinking beer, talking about slasher movies. Like, this horror movies are our thing, and then we're always talking about it. And Halloween is like so special because Halloween's in my top 20 movies of all time. Like, I adore Halloween. Yeah. So I always have high expectations for every iteration of the character, no matter what we're seeing, which is why, like, when people were so hard on this one, I was so beside myself.
I'm sorry, Peter.
Yes.
So caught me off guard right there.
But by the way, I don't know if you guys know that they tried to do a like multiverse Michael movie back in their like
they did. They told me about that.
Early 2010s. So that was a real thing that they tried to do. So like that, as much as we joke, someone in Hollywood's going to go back to that because studio notes tend to lay around for a long time until a movie happens. So,
and multiverse is hot property right now, so like that's totally something they're going to go for.
But yeah, I was with your guys' list until all this fucking blasphemy was happening. I did it again.
PJ, I warned you. I even warned you several times.
You are never allowed. No, swear. Tell me never to swear again, dude. I was doing a great job holding back all the way through.
I'm starting to feel like that we're the problem and y'all are all okay. Like, we're the ones trying to be repressive and like don't use that language.
Yeah, don't get your on the screen.
One quick thing I wanted to mention too about Little John and Big John is I don't know if it's intentional. I think that it's intentional. Because it's Gordon Greene and
I told you, come on.
Because it's Gordon Greene and Danny McBride.
Sorry.
Michael McDonald having death experiences with 2 Michael Myers is the best thing ever. The fact that he encounters Michael Myers, and encounters Mike Myers in Austin Powers International Man of Mystery is the most like ridiculous Easter egg if it was intended. I think it was intended. That it is it's so good. I love it so much.
I have a feeling that was the reason they were in the movie. Like someone was like, you know what needs to happen? We'll make it happen.
The guy that plays Big John is also he's very good in I don't know if anyone else has watched The Righteous Gemstones.
Not off the rails yet.
He's really good in The Righteous Gemstones. Which is David Gordon Green produced as well. And Danny McBride.
I for one appreciate PJ and PLD coming in here because I always do feel bad if like we're all like against one movie, especially for something that's controversial because there are people who like Halloween Kills. I've seen it on Twitter. I've heard about it. I have friends who do. So yeah. So
Halloween Kills forever.
Where are we putting this godforsaken movie
on the tier list?
Listen, you guys put it where you want. You know where it is in our hearts. That's what matters.
A tier, damn it.
A tier.
A tier for me.
I would be okay if it's B tier. I didn't even give it B tier.
A tier,
but I'm definitely an A tier.
I'm A tier.
I'm okay with it being D. Although, like PJ had a good PJ had a good argument and kind of swayed me up a bit on that. I forgot what part, but you said something that I was like, okay, yeah, I like that. I think it was you were talking about the brutality of it. That Michael Myers hasn't been this brutal until now, and this is a nice callback to how he should have been coming off of Halloween 78.
100%.
Which also I will give kudos for this movie as well too, is that they had the balls to kill kids for the first time in a Halloween film. I mean, and they
did it in the previous one too.
Yeah.
They killed the kid after the bus crashed.
And to be fair, he's trying to kill a kid in 4 and 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the way they did in this one, where all of a sudden he just has the decapitated head, but it still has the mask on it. I thought that was actually a really tasteful way of doing it. Actually, where it's just like
I agree.
Oh, holy crap! Like you're like holy crap! No one is safe. Plus, also I just love that moment in the flashback where the cop stops right next to the kids and he's just like, oh yeah, what? Someone's walking around with a mask. Oh yeah, everyone's walking around with a mask. Oh yeah, he murdered 7 kids up the street. Boom! I'm like, oh wow.
And I want to say to that point in the 78 flashbacks, the thing that I thought was so interesting, and it was the one thing that I noticed right away, and it set the tone for the rest of the movie, was that moment you see Michael kill the cop for the first time in the 78 flashback, it is much more intense than any of what you saw in 78. And it was like once he resurrected from being shot, he was on another level, which is why I like that the movie leaned on that so heavily, because he really kills that cop hard in a way that he didn't do to any of the teenagers. I just thought it was super fascinating.
When he comes out, that was the thing. I was like, that was the brutality we were talking about before, right from the get-go. He slams up again, and I'm like, that's Michael Myers right there.
All right. What would you guys... Oh, yeah.
I would say dropping into the Streamlabs real quick. So Garth sent in one saying Halloween Kills is based on The Wizard of Oz. Michael's on a journey to get back home, and he encounters people without brains, hearts, or courage along the way. This movie is F tier for me. I mean, that's a good point right there.
I'm sorry, that's
oh, they have courage.
Doesn't make it not fun.
That's right.
And then we got all of the chat sent in one saying sending in a question. I guess there's about to be a question sent in also. I guess we're coming back to that.
Strode's house.
My question is, how dare you?
So we've got PLD and PJ are wanting to stick this in A.
Me too. Or did you include me in that?
Tim is also I was encapsulating the two of them.
The new people.
Tim, you want to do A? Andres.
I said I wanted to do C. It was lower than 2018 for me, but I didn't necessarily outright hate it. It was just a bit of a disappointment for me. That's about it. But yeah, a C for me.
Okay. And then Tori.
This is like when I didn't like Dune and I didn't want to come on Tagline to talk about it. So I just hid in my like room and I was like, I don't know what Dune is. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't like upsetting people.
It's okay.
I'll give it. I will say, hearing PLD and PJ talk about this, I do like your perspective on it. I did have problems with it just not entertaining me to the same level that I was ready for. And that's just personal. Like, that's just what we look for in movies, being there or not being there. I will say, though, like, I would give it like a high C or a low B for the perspective you shared. I think, like, Michael Myers is definitely brutal in it. I don't think any of us really disagreed with that. I think we were more like saying about the people and their reaction and their interaction with Mike Myers and how that seems like super silly. So yeah, I can go middle ground. I didn't like leave this movie offended by how bad it was. I was just like, I probably wouldn't put this on again. But yeah.
So I'm still kind of like lost in this. I don't know exactly what to think. I feel like I need one more opinion. Hey, Mr. Bandit, what do you think of this?
Hey, what's up? Does evil die tonight, motherfucker?
It's about to.
The first time you come on our channel.
This movie sucks. It's so bad.
It's okay to be wrong, Ben.
It's okay. It's okay.
Ben, I'm glad that you're here to be wrong in front of everyone.
It's made for certain people, and we love it.
I'm at a fucking party right now, and I had to jump into this because I will not stand for this because I love that movie. *Malignant* is one of the best of the year. It will make my top 10. Molly Damon's a hero, and that's how you make a good bad movie. You make it well filmed, you make it fun, you make it engaging, and you make it intriguing with the story.
Look at Chris.
This was simply let me kill time because we said we were going to make this a Halloween trilogy, the movie. And it's 90 minutes of wheel spinning and Laurie Strode in a fucking hospital bed doing nothing besides reminiscing with a sheriff who definitely died in the first one, and a town that called Laurie Strode crazy for talking about Michael Myers in any way, shape, or form, but suddenly the entire town is like, oh, he haunted my family for 40 years. What are you talking about? You hated Laurie Strode in the last movie and called her a nutcase. What is happening? You know what? You want to erase, like, the history of the Halloween movies? Fine. Everybody's doing it. Be the cool kid. But you have to follow at least your own fucking criteria and say, you know what? No one remembers Michael Myers murdered 3 people 40 years ago, and no one cares. And that was
actually
the
4 people.
Set in Halloween 2018. A kid literally even says, he's like, oh, what? He killed 3 people? So what? What's the big deal? And that's the precedent you set. And then suddenly it's like, no, the nurse that lived 50 miles away, she moved to Haddonfield because Michael Myers grabbed her hair once. And guess what? He's going to do it again.
She liked a little hair pulling. What's your problem? Nothing wrong with that. No king shaming.
I've never seen someone be so confidently wrong at the same time.
I know, right?
Oh, no. So I apologize for making really good counterpoints. But
It's not like Laurie. I mean, if only we'd never seen Laurie in a hospital by herself, not doing anything before in the franchise.
Did she do anything by the time the movie ends, Tim?
No.
Not really.
No, she
Not
doesn't.
really. Not really.
Not really. No.
Because Laurie's not.
No, she stabs herself with a.
You've established in your franchise that Michael Myers doesn't give a fuck about Laurie Strode, and you've like reconstrued everything. They're not related. There's no there's no destiny of these two meeting up. So they're just gonna randomly run into each other.
Because it's all in her mind. It's all in her mind. That's what makes it scary, is that she's obsessed with this whole thing and he's not. Also, she has to come to this agreement that ultimately she's not the center of the universe. Holy shit, she's not the center of the universe. That's what makes it good.
Suicide Squad had scarier moments in this movie.
What was that?
Twilight has scarier moments in this movie.
Well, that's outside the movie, though. I mean,
It's crazy.
When he shimmers and
Wow.
the light
All right.
really gets me.
Your skin sparkles. You don't breathe. You talk like someone from a different time. That was scarier than anything that happened in Halloween Kills. There's not a single jump scare. There's not a single suspenseful moment. I know that everyone is dumb in slasher films. Like, come on, y'all. There's a suspension of disbelief to be like, let's form a mob. Now that we formed a mob, everybody split up into pairs of 2. Okay, now that we're in pairs of 2, everybody go alone into a house to face Michael Myers alone.
So Ben, would you say it's Now we got whoever
With the
Ben's
crowd.
hanging out with us too. Would you say it's safe to say
Everybody's
that
on my side, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
But how many,
Would
of
you
those,
buy
how
the beer? Look at that.
many of those people have seen the entirety of the Halloween franchise?
Exactly.
And how many of them did you buy a drink
It doesn't
for?
matter when they have erased the entire canon. You
It,
can homage
it does matter because those films still exist. It doesn't mean that they don't exist. Those movies still exist because
I've got Miles Morales and Kai-Ho Ren on my side too, so
well, Kai-Ho Ren thinks
Wow.
Resurrection is an A-tier film. So
That's true.
That's true.
That's true.
We can only take that opinion so seriously.
Halloween Kills sucks ass.
But Evil
Sucks.
dies tonight.
but Evil dies tonight, guys.
Oh my god.
It kind of feels like we're
TJ,
forming into a
TJ,
mob of
that's
people
the
that love the
only
movie or
I
people
know.
that hate it.
Right from now on.
what?
Dwayne.
What the hell is happening?
What is happening?
Okay.
Sorry, we're allowing no counter arguments in this because there shouldn't be any. This
You
movie's
were
terrible.
the counter argument.
You were the counter argument.
You are literally the counter argument, and I've never seen someone like just double down on being so wrong,
So wrong.
confidently.
So
Okay.
ultimately wrong.
Okay.
He
So
did not even
Ben,
good kills in this movie.
Rank the
Name
Ben,
one
Ben.
good kill.
Rank it.
Ben, in your opinion, Ben, where would you, what tier would you put this movie in, Ben?
It doesn't even deserve a tier.
D. I literally ranked Halloween today on my Patreon. I put it in D tier. And then my
Halloween
co-host,
Kills?
like my guest on Halloween Kills D tier. My guest put it S tier after the original Halloween. Blasphemy. Disgusting.
I mean, I wouldn't go to S tier.
I wouldn't
but it
go- I
definitely
wouldn't-
belongs
I don't
to
think I go to
S
S
tier,
tier
but
either, but
Your guess was correct to at least have it.
Buster Rhymes,
closer to S tier.
Halloween motherfucker is more intriguing than anything that happens in this movie.
Sabrina, don't worry. I defended
I-
Halloween Resurrection.
Busta
can't
Rhymes,
monetize
top
this episode.
10 characters in the entire top 5 characters in the entire Halloween franchise. Busta Rhymes,
I just
number
feel
2.
for Robert.
Michael Myers.
Buster Rhymes is number 2, Sabrina? Oh.
Hey, y'all want to see something fun? Hey, y'all want to see something fun? Thanks for joining us, Ben. Thanks for joining us, Paul. Thanks for joining us, PJ.
Chris just snapped him out of existence.
Chris just turned the bus around.
Ben actually took off. All right. I'm going to bring y'all on, but yeah, it's time to wrap this up. So given that, I'm going to say, are we all in green that B? Is B good for it?
I can live with a B.
I will live with
comfortably
B.
live with it being in a B tier.
I will live with B.
I just feel if we don't put it at a B tier, PJ and PLD and Frank are going to come down and they're going to kill all of us one by one in the very mob mentality. If we
That could
don't.
be.
Everyone at that Halloween party.
Evil
will kill
dies
us if we-
tonight.
Evil dies tonight.
So with it being in B, are we putting it under Halloween 2018 or above?
No, above.
I mean,
No, leave it right there. Leave it right there. You're getting the B.
yeah,
Just
I'm
enjoy
gonna
it.
I'm gonna take the win.
Fine,
I mean,
fine.
I
I'm going to take the win also. I'm going to take the
I'll
I'll
win.
take the win. I'll take the win.
All right. I'm going to hate to ask this, but I have to because I already set the precedence for this.
We're not moving 4.
Do we want to move anything else? Now that we're done, do we want to remove some of this?
I just want to point out, because I love it so much, I personally would move Halloween 4 to the front of A. It's my second favorite.
I mean, I would too.
I would
That's my
also.
I would too because it's my second favorite movie.
It's
But,
my second favorite movie in the franchise.
yeah, so but
So, I just want to throw that out there.
So we
I
want to
agree
move
with that.
Halloween 4 to the beginning of B, is what I heard.
No.
Robert, look, we're trying to be nice here.
Yeah, we
Right?
are trying to be nice. This is us being
Sound like
nice.
You're like a gangster at a negotiation table,
I know.
PJ. You're like, we're trying to give you a deal here by not killing your whole family.
I feel like I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm gonna have like a donkey head at the foot of my bed at this point.
We're being nice, Robert. We're being nice.
And I'm gonna have to question either Tori or my brother because they're the only ones who can get here in time to put a donkey head in my bed.
Or Lola. She can be
Yeah,
hot.
because that's so Lola's MO at this
do
point.
whatever he wants.
Chris, I owe Chris at least 3 beers when we're in LA together.
Perfect.
Dude, at the amount of people who are buying him beers, he's gonna be
God.
like so super drunk.
I'm gonna die.
Next month, spectacular, guys.
He's getting alcohol poisoning in LA, guaranteed.
Dude, I've never gotten alcohol poisoning, and I'm around these people very frequently.
I've tried, damn it. I've tried.
He's tried to kill me more than once.
Why are you trying?
That being said, for this episode of the Marquee, before we get into the behind the scenes after show, which will probably be a lot of fun, we're all okay with where everything's sitting on here.
I'm going to take the fact that we got kills to a B tier as a win.
Look how they massacred
my boy.
boy.
This is fine. I'm not going to open up the conversation since I have more people on my side now to tear down other things. But
Tim's cavalry.
I mean, look, if I could, I would move Zombies Halloween down to at least a D. But you know, I'm not. Beggars can't be choosers at this point.
I'm actually happy with it as a C. I'm happy with it as a C.
It's a low C. Just.
I would put it higher, but I'm okay with the word. I took the win there.
I'm going to leave it as is, and what a night, y'all. So, that is going to be our tier ranking. I'm actually probably going to screenshot this and put it up like on Twitter. I keep saying I'm going to do it like tomorrow. I'm probably actually going to do this here in a few minutes. In fact,
please do.
When we're backstage, just someone remind me after like a minute or so.
Well, when the Halloween party Ben was at sees where we put Halloween Kills, I'm sure we'll hear about it on Twitter.
There you go.
And they can all come
Tag
from
them.
me and PLD
I'm
and Tim.
gonna tag everyone.
Bring it. Bring it.
Oh my god.
I'll go get my samurai sword.
Jeremy, this thumbnail might need to change with how many guests we're on. Yeah, I lost count. I think I could have sworn I saw like Dwayne and David B in there.
Dwayne, David B, Sabrina.
Courtney was there.
Was that Courtney? Is that Courtney there? Yeah.
That was Courtney.
I thought it was.
I thought that was Courtney as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too.
We became Haddonfield tonight, everyone. Let's give a round of applause. We became Haddonfield tonight.
And y'all were all like, the Cinefanatic stream dies tonight. The Cinefanatic stream dies tonight. Let's
hey, Garth,
Halloween
we're not
Kills
going
is
anywhere. PLD and I aren't going anywhere, Garth. Buckle up, buddy.
You're going to put in like 10 Halloween Kills questions, aren't you? Like,
oh my god.
Perfect last episode of the Tears for Fears. Okay, here's the thing, real quick, y'all. This is the last Marquee episode for October. We will be switching up the Marquee, actually talking about movies outside of horror. Coming up pretty soon. We have a couple of plans for November already. Christmas, I'm pretty sure you can guarantee that we're going to have a Christmas movie tier ranking episode as well. And no, Die Hard will not be on it. Come at me and knock over my microphone.
Pete, that was it for PJ.
PJ's done.
PJ's
out.
The corgis took over.
This is fucking bullshit.
Bullshit. Christmas dies tonight.
Really, guys? Did you have to? Really? Anyways, as we're closing this off, make sure y'all stay tuned to the Cinefanatics Twitter at Cinefanatics MLP, Instagram as well. We will be announcing on there and also on our show the tagline whenever we're going to do future tier ranking Marquee episodes. So keep an eye out for that. We have a couple of good ideas, like I said. It's going to be a lot of fun, but we will not be doing tier ranking next weekend. So we got to break.
We might still do some scary ones eventually. It's not to say
we will. Yeah. I absolutely love talking about horror movies. I'm not ditching horror movies at all. But
I think we should do horror remakes is all I'm saying. I think there's a lot of fun
remakes is coming. I got Tim down for doing Friday the 13th, which if it's anything like this Halloween one, yeah, that's what I thought. It's yeah, okay. It's going to be just look at your calendar whenever there's a Friday the 13th actually coming up. That's probably what I'm going to shoot for, and I believe we're looking at like April or May.
A number between 1 and 1,000.
Spoilers for Friday
13.
Spoilers for Friday the 13th. I don't have any F tier Friday the 13th films.
That is the correct response.
Yeah, I agree. I actually
have some D's, but I don't have any F.
So that's going to be a big one. Keep an eye out for us to make the announcement for that. I might have to move it up sooner than later. But anyways, let's go ahead and do some plugs. We'll start with
I'm ready. Let's go.
PJ and his gorgeous
I got that bad boy as well.
Yeah,
delicious.
PJ, what would you like to plug, sir?
You guys can find me at the Movie Trivia Schmodown. Hey, I write the questions. Be nice to the writers. We're only human. Twitter, Instagram, PJ_Campbell, hanging out at Off the Rails, hanging out with these people. I love all of you. Thank you for letting me come on and fight for Halloween Kills.
Wait, so you write the questions for the Schmodown? You mean I need to blame you for all those Ed Harris questions I get in the FCL? Man,
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you that I've been working in the FCL.
That's true.
Too soon.
I love you, Chris.
Paul, the true mastermind behind the Ed Harris questions in the FCL.
Yes. I've been running the FCL, and like PJ has said, I'm actually helping him with the MTS, so we're both doing basically both.
I was gonna say, other than attached to Ed Harris's backside, where else can we find you?
You find me. I'm eventually going to bring back PLD Projects, which has been kind of on a hiatus a little bit. For Scoundrels of the Force, we do our Star Wars show. I'm going to bring back PLD Project. We do our own tier rankings here and there as well, so look out for that. And again, MTS, FCL, and on Action Industries with Ben Bateman and Andrew Gryan, helping them out with a lot of their weekend stuff. So.
Woo. Let's go, Andres. You happen to be on the bottom. Let's go there.
What are you saying?
Don't
totally
read into
bottom.
that, please. For the love of God.
I'll be a bottom for you, PLD.
Oh my!
Damn it!
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Gallegos. You can also find me on Twitch as Gallegos209. You can also find me on the FCL on occasion. We just ended our season. What else? Oh, I'm doing a podcast with Nancy Rodriguez and Tom Chalabash from the FCL as well too. It's called Film on Tap. We actually just posted up our Halloween episode as of a couple hours. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. Great discussion. Always a fun time hanging out with those guys. I'm also on High Voltage Media's YouTube channel. We just put out our episode of Any Given Sunday retrospect on that, and we're currently working on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and we're also working on releasing our Star Wars Episode 3 episode, so keep in touch for that, guys.
Awesome. Mr. Franco.
You can find me on Twitter, tfranco84, but you don't need to follow me. I don't do anything important. Doesn't matter. I actually want less followers, so if you unfollow me, if you follow me, that'd be cool. I don't care. I mostly just tweet. I mostly just take pictures of tweets I see on Twitter, and I text them to Pat or my other friend Dan, and I'm like, "Can you believe this person said this? Look at this bullshit." That's what I do mostly with Twitter, and then Pat will agree with me, and then we'll laugh. And what I will say though is check out the Halloween Curse of Michael Myers producer's cut if you haven't seen it. Check that out.
Don't need any more cursing.
You can watch Halloween Kills now on Peacock, so check that out. And the third thing I would like to say is if you love this franchise as much as I love it, and if you want to explore it more and learn more about it, check out the wonderful podcast In Myers We Trust with Geyers and Rust by Paul Rust and Matt Gorley. It is my favorite podcast. They're my favorite podcasters, and that podcast is incredible. It's right now behind a Stitcher paywall, but it is 100% worth paying for. Eventually, they're going to get it back on their main feed, but check out with Gorley and Rust. Pat will sign off on that.
Also, on top of that, if you guys have never watched Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder, he did Halloween 1, 4, and 5. You guys should definitely watch the Joe Bob episodes regarding those because they're really great also. But also In Myers We Trust is excellent, and we all stand for Joe Bob Briggs.
And on their most recent Halloween Hootenanny, which they did 2 weeks ago, they had David Gordon Green and Jason Blum on as guests, and they talked a lot about Halloween Kills and a lot about his mindset into making it and his ideas of going into the callbacks and everything. So anyways, check it out.
Tori
X Rose, Twitter and Instagram. I've been watching movies and live tweeting it. I did it with Lord of the Rings, and that was super fun. I just finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy today, so I'm in a mood. Ever. Tori X Rose, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Tagline every Wednesday with Robert and Chris on the City Fanatics YouTube channel. I'm on the Marquee every typically Saturday on this channel. Chris. I got it, Chris. I got it. And then with the Civil War thing happening, I'm the new leader of the Cine Fanatics. So follow us on Twitter.
That was the right choice. Congratulations for getting
that. Absolutely.
I was watching the match ooh. Who's gonna win?
Anyways, You can find me personally at Robert Adams MLP at Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And then finding me here for whatever we're doing on this channel, probably. And you can follow my brother who's been popping in. Make sure y'all follow and subscribe to him on Twitch, twitch.tv/ChrisAdamsMLP. That would be great. All the things Vernon's plugging for us. I would like to thank all of y'all for coming to feel like a major part of the Schmodown community's Halloween Kills TED Talk. This has been a blast being here. So we appreciate y'all being here. We appreciate y'all watching this. Again, I will have the screenshot for everyone to talk about on Twitter up in a minute. And yeah, that's going to do it for tonight. So for my brother, for Tori, for our entire panel, and hopefully you fans watching in the chat, we will see y'all later. Have a happy Halloween. Good night.
Evil dies tonight.